The pill fairy was no longer the warm and gentle pill fairy. Even her voice had become harsher. "Divine daughter, we might not make it in time." Elder Tianqi was sweating and his voice shuddered. "Why not?" demanded the pill fairy, anger in her eyes. "Divine daughter, please don't misunderstand. It's not that we don't want to disperse the formation, but that we just used the divine energy of the two god statues. With their energy within the formation, it will take some time to disperse." Elder Tianqi didn't even dare to look the pill fairy in her eyes. The process of sending the divine energy back to the statues was complicated and took a long time. Elder Tianqi was filled with regret. If he had known that Longchen possessed such power, he would have used the power of the divine statues from the start. However, that energy was the faith energy of Pill Valley's disciples and their tribute to the gods. Unless they had absolutely no choice, they wouldn't use it. If the gods learned of it, it would displease them. Their divine punishment wasn't something that they could bear. The pill fairy's expression darkened. "How long will it take?" "Even at the fastest pace, it will take 6 hours, said Elder Tianqi nervously. 6 hours. By then, Longchen would have been long gone. There would be no way to chase him. "Elder Tianqi, you've grown old. You should take a good break." The pill fairy's white sword suddenly slashed down. "Divine daughter!" Elder Tianqi cried out in shock. He hadn't expected the divine daughter to actually kill him. He tried to retreat, but he found that he couldn't move. That was the influence of his soul. His reverence and fear for the gods meant that the divine daughter could kill him regardless of his cultivation base or combat power. He had just understood this point when he was cut in two by that sharp sword. There was no blood that flowed. Before he even fell, he was turned to ash. Heavens! The countless experts that had been gathered here were stunned by that sight. Then they looked around at the deplorable state of the plaza and the giant pillar that had slammed into it. The surrounding buildings were broken. There was blood. The only thing that wasn't there was Longchen. Their hearts pounded wildly. They guessed something, but they acted like they didn't know anything, controlling their own expressions to avoid provoking a calamity. "Your continuous failures are not worthy of Pill Valley. You were played with by Longchen like this, ruining Pill Valley's name and humiliating the gods. Killing you is letting you off easy," said the pill fairy coldly. Her sword slowly vanished. The other elders didn't dare to say a word. Many of them had watched the pill fairy grow up. She was known for her good temperament, her kindness, and her dislike of fighting. But after becoming the divine daughter, she had completely changed. No one dared to speak to her. "Since Longchen has fled, let him live for a few more days. Once I come out of seclusion, I'll take his head," said the pill fairy. Her gaze swept over everyone once. However, she then stopped upon spotting a pretty maiden. This maiden was known as Pill Valley's number 2 beauty. She was very close to the pill fairy and was like her younger sister. Within Pill Valley, she was second only to the pill fairy in beauty and alchemy. She was Wanqing. Now she was called Fairy Wanqing by Pill Valley's disciples. The current Wanqing had a pained expression as she looked at the pill fairy. Her mouth was pursed, but she had tears in her eyes. Back then, if it hadn't been for Longchen, she would have been bullied to death. It had been Longchen who had looked after her and taught her alchemy arts, and then introduced her to the pill fairy. At that time, the three of them had laughed and talked. Longchen liked to joke around, drawing out the pill fairy's laughter. He had even told her the story of the warriors of the starry sky. The three of them had been like a family. At that time, she hadn't understood, but as time passed, she came to understand the feelings between the pill fairy and Longchen. Upon returning from the Jade Lake sacred land, the pill fairy had often looked at the jewel blood jade orchid that Longchen had given her. During those times, she would sometimes smile brightly, sometimes bitterly. As for Wanqing herself, she was no longer that immature little girl. She and the pill fairy were like sisters. Although the pill fairy had never mentioned Longchen to her, she knew that the pill fairy was thinking of him. However, after going through the divine blessing, the pill fairy had become icy. More and more, she was growing unlike herself. The two of them never spoke like they used to. Just now, Wanqing had clearly witnessed Longchen leaving. Just as she grew happy that he had escaped, The Pill Fairy arrived, saying that she would hunt him down. Then she had killed Elder Tianqi. That ruthless heart of hers made Wan Qing feel even more like a stranger. The Pill Fairy had completely changed. When the Pill Fairy saw Wan Qing, the sharpness in her eyes gradually softened. Finally, a warmer expression appeared on her face. She walked over to Wan Qing. "I'm going into seclusion. Don't laze around. I will transmit some alchemy arts to you. Slowly comprehend them." The Pill Fairy pressed a finger against Wan Qing's forehead, spiritual strength pouring into her mind-sea. She then turned and left. Wan Qing's mind was filled with new pill formulas and alchemy arts, but seeing the Pill Fairy's departing figure, tears streamed down her face. As for the disciples that had come to Pill Valley for the Brahma's secret realm, they were apprehensive. At first, they were filled with hatred for Pill Valley since the latter had conned them, but then seeing Pill Valley in its wretched state, their furious expressions vanished. Even Elder Tianqi had been killed by the Pill Fairy. What if Pill Valley turned their fury toward them? Long Chen was too powerful. When he had been Long San, he had caused immense damage by drawing out a monster from the Heaven Dragon Flame region. Now he once more caused immense damage, destroying the Brahma's secret realm's inheritances and then escaping just like this. Although no one told them that Long Chen had escaped, seeing the expressions of these experts, they knew what had happened. Those disciples all felt admiration for Long Chen. He was truly worthy of being a legendary figure of the martial heaven continent. He always managed to shake heaven and earth. They had personally witnessed it. The Pill Fairy didn't leave behind any other directives before going into seclusion. The Valley Master was also in seclusion. The one who had been temporarily in charge, Elder Tianqi, was also dead. There was no one to lead them. Pill Valley entered a tense state. None of them dared to go ask the Pill Fairy for instruction. They wanted to live. The various elders secretly gathered, even pulling in Wan Qing. Wan Qing didn't say a word. She knew what the elders were doing by pulling her in. It was to leave themselves an opening. If there was a problem and the Pill Fairy was infuriated by using her, perhaps they could avoid punishment. There were over 1 million disciples gathered here, and they couldn't force them to stay. But if they let them go just like this, they were afraid of being blamed by the Pill Fairy. They didn't know what to do. They couldn't make them stay until the Valley Master came out of seclusion. They were guests, not prisoners. If they did that, Pill Valley would have offended the entire continent. After their meeting, they came to a decision. They would open the formation after 7 days. These disciples would have to first rest within Pill Valley. In truth, under normal circumstances, dispersing the formation wouldn't even take a day. However, this was to give them some buffer room, winning 7 days for them. If the Valley Master came out of seclusion or the Pill Fairy gave some directions during this time, they would have saved themselves. If the Valley Master didn't come out and the Pill Fairy didn't pass any instructions, then they couldn't blame them for acting on their own after waiting a whole 7 days. Just like that, Pill Valley slowly began dispersing their formation, firmly saying that these disciples would have to wait until the 7 days were up. Even after 7 days, Yu Shaoyun didn't come out of seclusion, and the Pill Fairy didn't say anything, so Pill Valley finally let these disciples out. Once they were out, heaven-shaking news instantly spread throughout the continent. Long Chen had charged into Pill Valley, played with Elder Tianqi, and managed to sneak into the Brahma's secret realm. There, he had collected a fee to enter, broken the divine pillars, entered the palace, fought with 13 Empyreans with awakened manifestations, and killed Leng Wufeng and Lu Zichuan. If the Pill Fairy hadn't come, the remaining Empyreans might also have died. The entire continent was shaken. When it came to courting death, if Long Chen claimed he was number 2, no one would dare claim to be number 1. The entire continent began looking for Long Chen. They knew that his injuries were serious. It was unknown if he was even still alive. Some people began to spread word that Long Chen had succumbed to his injuries. If they could find him, perhaps they could obtain his secrets and become a second Long Chen. Whether it was those that cared for Long Chen or those that wished to harm him, everyone was in motion, searching for him. After fleeing from Pill Valley, Long Chen was carried away by the heaven-flipping seal. He couldn't endure any longer and fainted. In front of the heaven-splitting battle sect, Hundreds of disciples were in charge of watching the gates. Things were as intense as ever. Those hundreds of disciples were fighting amongst themselves once more for some unknown reason. "Quick look! What's that up in the sky?" shouted one disciple. The disciple who had cried out was given a black eye, and the one who had punched him cursed, "You've used that same move for 3 years against me. Are you calling me an idiot by using it again?" As soon as that disciple finished cursing, he realized that something was wrong. The other disciples were also looking up at the sky and running. He hastily turned around, only to see a brick flying his way. Boom! The brick smashed down in front of the gates to the heaven-splitting battle sect. "Who is so blind as to attack our heaven-splitting battle sect? Are you tired of living?" A disciple immediately activated the alarm. They thought it was an enemy attack. However, after activating the alarm, they realized that something was off. When the brick landed, a person came tumbling off of it. That person's posture was a bit strange, and he actually smashed into a boulder. That person's upper body ended up stuck within the rock. It was a bizarre sight. "Little fellow, hiding your appearance is useless. Report your name," shouted one of the disciples. The disciples formed up, ready to face a powerful enemy. They stared closely at that person, but even after waiting for a while, that person didn't move. It was like he was really stuck in the rock. "What is going on?" At this time, Bao Buping and Chang Hao came rushing over. Upon seeing the person stuck in the rock, they were stunned. Long Chen. Bao Buping and Chang Hao had been with Long Chen longer than the other disciples. His cultivation of split the heavens in particular was different from the ordinary disciples of the heaven-splitting battle sect. Others might not recognize him, but they instantly did. When they pulled him out of the rock, the disciples were stunned. It really was Long Chen. However, he was covered in blood, and his aura was extremely weak. He was in a deep unconscious state. "Seal off the news of this immediately. Buping, go take some people to search the surroundings. See if there's anyone suspicious. If there is, cut them down immediately. We can't let people learn that Long Chen has come to the heaven-splitting battle sect," said Chang Hao. Seeing Long Chen heavily injured, he immediately connected it to the news that Long Chen had entered Pill Valley. "All right." Without another word, Bao Buping set off with a few people. Everything within hundreds of thousands of miles was the territory of the heaven-splitting battle sect. If there was someone present, then they had to be enemies sent to keep watch over them. If they encountered such people, they would immediately exterminate them. Chang Hao brought Long Chen into the sect. He also switched out the disciples guarding the gates and harshly warned them not to mention anything about Long Chen. He had just reached the inner sect when Boss Bao and the others rushed over after receiving the news. Seeing the dozens of wounds on Long Chen's body with powerful divine energy fluctuations surging within them, they jumped in shock. How did this little bastard get injured to this extent? The old man also arrived, and he was infuriated upon seeing Long Chen's current state. The fact that Long Chen could escape Pill Valley is already fortunate. "Take a look and see if you can heal him," advised Boss Bao. The news that Long Chen had entered Pill Valley had been spread by Chief Feng Shue and the others. When Chu Jianying learned of that matter, she almost passed out from rage. Even the old man had been unable to sit still upon hearing this. He had actually taken the initiative to find Chu Jianying, wanting to go and save Long Chen together. However, Pill Valley's grand formation had already been activated. No one could break it. That was a divine barrier powered by divine energy, and it would require an equally powerful divine energy to break. Despite that, the old man had been about to charge in. No matter what, he had to try. He wouldn't just watch as Long Chen was killed inside. It was Li Tianxian who managed to stop him. Li Tianxian said that Long Chen definitely had his own methods, or he wouldn't have charged in. Furthermore, even if the old man went, he wouldn't be able to help. Adding on everyone's advice, the old man finally settled down. During this time, everyone was anxiously awaiting news. All those on the side of the Martial Heaven Alliance were hoping for Long Chen to be fine. He was currently the mental pillar of the Martial Heaven Alliance. If something happened to him, it would be a fatal blow to them. Although Long Chen's condition was dire, he was still alive. That was a good thing. At the very least, they could relax slightly. The old man examined Long Chen's injuries. Boss Bao and the others asked, "How is it?" The old man shook his head, causing the others' expressions to change. "Is there no saving him?" "Why would you say something like that? Have I not beaten you recently? Did I say that there was no saving him?" Raged the old man. "Then what are you shaking your head for?" demanded Boss Bao. "Because the divine energy attacking him has sunk into his blood, flesh, and soul." "I can't do anything about it," said the old man. "Doesn't that mean that there's no saving him?" "Shut up. Although Long Chen's injuries are severe, his body possesses the ability to heal itself. His body is instinctively erasing the divine energy. Although the process is very slow, there's no danger to his life," said the old man. The others all sighed with relief. The seventh boss said, "Long Chen is a genius at causing trouble. He even caused something so huge." "What, you don't like it? If you don't even dare to cause trouble, what will you be able to accomplish in your lifetime? Cultivation exists to do what you want to do, to go against fate. Even now you don't understand what the point of cultivation is. Just looking at you is a disappointment," cursed the old man. The seven bosses rolled their eyes. It seemed that to the old man, other than Long Chen, everyone else had failed to live up to his special expectations. "Should we alert the Alliance head?" probed the fourth boss. "And tell her what?" snorted the old man. Hearing that reply, the bosses couldn't say anything. They knew that the old man was still a bit angry that despite him going to Chu Jianying hadn't led her army to Pill Valley. The few of them had just left when they faintly heard the old man mumble, "In any case, I won't say anything to her. If someone's bored, they can tell whoever." The bosses exchanged a smile. The old man definitely had a soft spot for Chu Jianying, but he refused to lower his face. He wouldn't tell Chu Jianying personally, but if others told her, he wouldn't care. After thinking about it, Boss Bao decided to go personally. He had been thinking of sending Chong Hao, but then he thought that this matter was too important. When Chu Jianying learned that Long Chen had returned, a weight fell from her shoulders. In truth, of everyone, the one who had been under the most pressure was Li Tianxian. Back then, he had sworn that Long Chen had some trump card and would return alive. It was like he had sworn that he would cut off his own head as retribution if he was wrong. That had been the only way to placate the old man. Without that, even if the Martial Heaven Alliance didn't take action, the old man would have charged over to Pill Valley on his own. Although Li Tianxian knew of Long Chen's identity as a heaven defier, legends were just legends. It was said that such a figure could not die to man. They would only die to the heavenly Daos. But things in legends weren't dependable. What if heaven defiers could die to man? What if Long Chen wasn't a heaven defier? Who could say anything for sure? If something really had happened to Long Chen, how was he supposed to explain himself to the old man, Chu Jianying, and the Martial Heaven Alliance? So although he had put on a calm appearance, he was more nervous than anyone. He had been forced to maintain a confident look while so nervous. "I'm not doing this ever again." Upon receiving news of Long Chen, Li Tianxian finally managed to relax. He silently promised himself something. News that Long Chen was still alive did not spread to more than 10 people within the Martial Heaven Alliance. They were all people that Chu Jianying fully trusted. There was no need to worry about it being leaked. Furthermore, since the Heavenly Fate Island had been plucked by the roots, no one could calculate that Long Chen had gone to the heaven-splitting battle sect. With the old man standing guard, there was no need to worry about Long Chen's safety. However, the curious thing was that although Long Chen had escaped, Pill Valley's formation remained locked. It was unknown what they were up to. It was only after 7 days that Pill Valley's divine formation was opened, and the various heavenly geniuses spread throughout the continent. Only then did people learn of what Long Chen had done within the Brahma's secret realm. Although they had prepared, they were still dumbfounded by what they heard. Now they knew why Long Chen was so heavily injured. He had fought 13 Empyreans with awakened manifestations, killing 2 of them, and if the Divine Daughter hadn't appeared in the end, who knew just how many of them would have managed to survive? Upon obtaining photographic jades of the events, even Nether Passage experts shook in fear. This was a true battle of heavenly geniuses. Ordinary Nether Passage experts had already been thrown into the distance by the uprising generation. However, after a moment of shock, Chu Jianying and the others' hearts grew heavy once more. Perhaps even more awakened Empyreans would be appearing within Pill Valley's camp. As for the Martial Heaven Alliance, they didn't have the ability to stimulate the manifestations of Empyreans. The difference between them was silently growing. Fortunately, Long Chen had ruined Pill Valley's plans, or it was unknown just how many more awakened Empyreans would have appeared. Their main worry though was Pill Valley's divine daughter. Once Yu Qingxian came out, would there be anyone in this world capable of stopping her? Time passed bit by bit. It had already been over half a month since Long Chen had escaped from Pill Valley. Just as rumors were swirling throughout every corner of the continent, a huge phenomenon silently descended, shaking the entire continent. On this day, the world suddenly began to shake, and huge waves soared out of the martial heaven searing. The stars in the sky shuddered. All the life forms on the continent were terrified. What's happening? Cries of despair rang out and buildings collapsed. Is this the end of the world? The sun and moon lost their light. Regardless of cultivation base, a sensation of despair filled every person's heart. This strange phenomenon made all cultivators feel like the martial heaven continent was about to be destroyed. In front of this, they all felt minuscule and powerless. Certain cultivators that had felt like hegemons in control of everything now found that in front of this despair, they could only shudder. They were like tiny ants. The entire continent was thrown into chaos. Commoners knelt on the ground and prayed for the gods' mercy. Women and children silently shuddered, not even daring to cry. They were simply terrified. The various experts of every faction on the continent stood in shock, staring up at the sky. There was a terrifying heavenly might gathering. They had no idea what to do. Disciples of the Martial Heaven Alliance, no need to fear. This phenomenon indicates that we are entering the final phase of the Great Era, the Qi Flow eruption, announced Chu Jianying. Only then did those disciples relax slightly. However, they still sensed the twisting will of the heavenly Daos raging within the sky. In front of that power, they were nothing. Tianqi, what do you think? The Martial Heaven Alliance's top experts were gathered, looking at the phenomenon. It was Chu Jianying who asked Li Tianqian. Li Tianquan's status was extremely high within the Martial Heaven Alliance, second only to Chu Jianying. He was praised as their #1 strategist. Many seniors even felt great admiration for him. Based on historical records, this Qi Flow eruption is coming a full 10 years ahead of time. It's truly strange. Li Tianqian shook his head. In the past great eras, first came certain omens, then various powerful geniuses rose, and then the competition between those heavenly geniuses would be fought. The competition between heavenly geniuses was a bloody and cruel one. At the very least, over half of them would die during that fight. Normally, that competition would last over 10 years. It was only when the various Empyreans hidden throughout the continent finally came out that the true competition would begin. Only at least 10 years later would it be time for the Qi Flow eruption. However, this time, those heavenly geniuses had only just appeared. There hadn't been any true competition between them, but they had already entered the final phase of the Great Era, the Qi Flow eruption. Is it related to Long Chen? He killed 2 awakened Empyreans, said one elder. Yan Nantian shook his head. It has nothing to do with that. The deaths of just those 2 are unable to affect the continent's Qi Flow. There's no need to guess because it's meaningless. This Great Era is history's greatest and most dangerous era. The few of us are only witnesses to the upcoming history. But we are not the main characters. Everyone nodded. They looked toward Yi Lingshan, who was behind Chu Jianying. Yi Lingshan was the successor of the Martial Heaven Alliance, leading countless experts of the same generation. This era belonged to them. Within the Wine God Palace, the High Priest was standing in his courtyard. There seemed to be 1,000,000 stars revolving within his turbid eyes. Those eyes seemed to see through space. The High Priest frowned. Someone forcibly changed the Qi Flow. Pill Valley, just what are you doing? In the northern Xian region, within an icy palace, ice crystals were flowing through the air. It was like the very space was about to freeze. A white-robed Taoist heavenly feather was looking up at the sky. Light flowed within her eyes. The Qi flow eruption is coming ahead of time. The martial heaven continent's Qi flow is almost exhausted. Whether or not it will survive the upcoming tribulation is impossible to tell. Victory means nirvanic rebirth. Defeat means being blown to dust. The lives of everyone in this world lie in the hands of your generation. Taoist heavenly feather turned toward the throne of the palace. There was Yijiqiu. She was like a statue, a holy light radiating from her. Above Yijiqiu's head was an ice sword. It was suspended there, unleashing divine light over her. This terrifying phenomenon continued for 3 days and nights before it finally ended. When the sun finally rose over the horizon, cries of relief rang out. The commoners weren't cultivators. Hence, they were filled with reverence and gratitude toward the world. Those who prayed were overjoyed, thinking that their prayers had been heard by the gods, and so they had decided not to unleash their divine punishment. People felt like they had been reborn. The gods had forgiven them of their sins, causing them to cherish this life even more. Rather than complaining that their lot in life was unfair, they steadily lived their lives. This phenomenon didn't change the world, but it changed many hearts. Those people felt just how blessed life was. Their grievances, their resentment, their envy, these all weren't worth anything in front of death. They all felt laughable and stupid. Some tribes and noble families with old enmities actually gave up their fighting and tried to make peace. They felt like their greed, their overblown desires had been what had drawn the wrath of the heavens. They had forgotten about everything that they already had. Through this phenomenon, one person made a profound conclusion. The greed of humans was even more frightening than devils or gods. Many people who felt like they were unlucky with life hadn't realized before just how lucky they were. They were focused on what other people had. Short people envied tall people, ugly people envied pretty people, poor people envied rich people. Even if they obtained the same thing, they wanted to take the other person's portion. Greed grew into resentment. Resentment grew into envy. Envy gave birth to ugly thoughts. Ugly thoughts could be carried out as soon as a suitable opportunity presented itself. That eventually became a habit, making people greedier, until they were willing to do anything to get what they wanted. In truth, the heavens were fair. If they gave you beauty, they made you poor. If they gave you money, they made you ugly. Some people possessed both, but then their hearts and spirits were empty. Looking blessed was just an appearance that made others jealous. Everyone had scars or things that they had to bear. People had a habit of looking at other people's blessings without looking at their own. However, this terrifying phenomenon, which had made them feel like their lives were about to end, made them realize that their blessings had always been beside them. After it was over, they continued living. Now they understood why those people who were dying always seemed regretful right before death. Only upon realizing that they were about to lose everything did they realize how blessed they were. By then it was too late. Many battles stopped within the secular world. For at least a short while, warring and plundering ceased to happen. However, within the cultivation world, dark undercurrents were flowing. This phenomenon indicated that the Qi flow eruption was coming. Some extremely low-key powers were emerging from hibernation. Did you hear? The everlasting families are starting to move. Those families from the time of sovereigns? Is that really true? It's not just the everlasting families. Some other ancient monsters are also awakening. Did you hear? Those unrivaled monsters from the ancient era actually paid a huge price to seal themselves within a crack in spacetime just because they weren't born in the right era. Countless monsters have been born throughout history. Some of them rose like shooting stars, eclipsing the light of all others within their generation, only to suddenly vanish. They were most likely sealed. They waited thousands or even tens of thousands of years for the great era to come. They must be attempting to become the new sovereign. A sovereign can only be born during the great era. Those unrivaled monsters are probably going to cause a bloody storm. Long Chen is also an unrivaled monster within his generation, but compared to those monsters that appeared throughout history, it seems that he's lacking a bit. After all, Those monsters were those who fought until there was no one else who dared to fight against them. Only then were they sealed. Long Chen, Long Chen. I wonder how he'll compare to those ancient monsters. I hope he doesn't sadly wither in comparison. The Martial Heaven Continent's experts were all tense. Originally, they had thought that they knew everything about the continent that there was to know. However, after the phenomenon, they found out that the continent they occupied had been hiding many terrifying sections. Those sects hadn't made appearances within thousands or even tens of thousands of years. Some of them did not even exist within historical records. The four everlasting families in particular were extremely frightening existences throughout history. People had simply assumed that they had been lost within the flow of time after not appearing for so long, but they had now come out. Those were families that had borne witness to the rising of sovereigns. The foundations of such families were definitely unimaginable. Once they came out, wouldn't this world belong to them? Various experts that had been hiding on the continent gradually came out, showing their brilliance. This was an announcement that this world would be theirs. The central Xian region grew livelier. Some powers were already making secret moves, thinking about how they could form good relations with those ancient sects that had dominated their time. As the outer world became bustling with activity, Long Chen finally awoke. Upon waking up, his face was pale, and he was covered in cold sweat. "You're awake? Are you all right?" The old man immediately sensed Long Chen's awakening. Long Chen stretched lightly. "I'm fine. It was just a dream." Long Chen sat up and found that he was drenched. It was like he had just gotten out of the pool. Sensing his body, he knew that his injuries had not fully recovered. They had been too severe and would need some more time to heal. His injuries hadn't just contained world energy but also divine energy. Long Chen wiped some sweat off his forehead. Just now, he had had a nightmare. Within that nightmare, he had been within endless darkness, unable to move. He could only watch as his parents, his little sister, and everyone he cared about died in front of him. All his struggling was useless in the face of the darkness. His roars, his howls, they were of no use. All those people, all of his family, were wiped out by a large, merciless hand. Long Chen couldn't even see who the owner of that hand was. That kind of despair and powerlessness almost drove him insane. The nightmare had woken him up now, and although he knew it was just a dream, he still felt somewhat afraid. "Old man, how many days have passed? Has anything happened outside?" asked Long Chen. The old man told Long Chen what had happened during the past few days. Upon hearing about the phenomenon that had occurred on the continent and that they were entering the time of the Qi flow eruption, Long Chen couldn't help being shocked. Countless hidden powers are appearing one by one like fierce bears awakening from hibernation. "Long Chen, you have to be careful. What you are facing this time are monsters who dominated their generation. Those monsters left behind a glorious record within the continent's history, and it was precisely because they were unrivaled that they sealed themselves, waiting for the great era to come so that they might become a sovereign. It could be said that every one of them is like you, the top of their generation. You can't be careless," warned the old man. Although the old man constantly said that people had to have big guts and dare to cause trouble, Long Chen's ability at causing trouble was just too great. The old man was no longer able to protect him. Long Chen nodded. This battle had made him aware of the saying that a tiger couldn't withstand a pack of wolves. If he hadn't used Lu Zichuan to cut down Leng Wufeng, resulting in an opening appearing within their formation, he might not have been able to defeat them in the battle. As for the Pill Fairy, she gave him even greater pressure. She was even stronger than Lu Zichuan and the others combined. She had reached a terrifying level. "What about Meng Qi and the others? Do they know about this matter?" asked Long Chen. "No. We've been keeping this quiet. Why worry the women?" The old man shook his head. The old man always felt that men should handle things outside, while women handled things inside. Women shouldn't be involved in everything. That was his greatest source of conflict with Chu Jianying. In any case, this made Long Chen relax slightly. If Meng Qi and the others knew that he had gone to Pill Valley and been heavily injured, they would be worried. So it was better not to tell them. Long Chen tried to stand up, only to grimace from his injuries. These wounds were very difficult to deal with. It had been so many days, but there was still some remnant energy ruining his healing. Now you should know just how powerful Empyreans with awakened manifestations are. With their world energy combined with the laws of the heavenly Daos, ordinary people are specks of dust in front of them. For you to be able to survive in your current state is already amazing. The old man had originally started to scold Long Chen a bit, only to switch to praise midway. Long Chen's physical body was so powerful that even the Xian beasts would have to look up to him. The stronger Long Chen was, the greater pride the old man felt. Long Chen slowly stood, tottering like he was ill. The old man went to help him but was refused. Long Chen took a deep breath and closed his eyes. He slowly circulated his 108,000 stars, causing life energy to swell within the primal chaos space. He immediately started to feel a bit better. Although he was still weak, he could walk. "Little fellow, you're finally awake. If you drink some wine to wet your throat." At this time, Boss Bao and the others came rushing over. They immediately had Long Chen tell them what had happened in Pill Valley. Looking at the jug of wine that they had brought, Long Chen didn't know whether to laugh or to cry. When people were recovering from illness, who gave them wine to drink as soon as they woke up? Fortunately, this wine came from the Wine God Palace, so it could be considered a tonic as well. Bao Buping and Chang Hao also came. Hence, Long Chen gave a simple explanation of what had happened in Pill Valley. Of course, he didn't mention the matter of the Pill Fairy not wearing any clothes. Hearing how Long Chen had toyed with Pill Valley and still escaped, Bao Buping clapped and laughed. Long Chen couldn't help bitterly smiling when he reached the end of his tale. He had almost lost his life in Pill Valley this time. Originally, he had thought that with the fragment of the Eastern Wasteland Bell, he could break through any barrier. Who would have thought that Pill Valley's divine barrier was so monstrous? If Evil Moon hadn't also had a trump card, he might have been forced to stay in Pill Valley. "Chang Hao, what's been going on outside?" asked the old man. Chang Hao had been sent to find any information circulating in the outside world. Compared to Bao Buping, Chang Hao was more dependable in this regard. Chang Hao had only just returned when Long Chen woke up, so they hadn't had time to hear his report. "I went to Clearwind City. There are now many more monsters present, and they are all Empyreans with awakened manifestations. I could sense powerful pressure from them, so there's definitely no mistake. The most important thing though is that those Empyreans are not the ones who attacked Long Chen," said Chang Hao gravely. "It's not Di Feng and the others?" Long Chen was startled. Weren't they supposed to be the first group of awakened Empyreans on the continent? It's not something to be surprised about. There were many ancient powers with their own inheritances who went into seclusion during their most brilliant time. Back then, the chi flow of the continent was still very strong, and they extracted a portion of it for their own minor worlds. Just like hibernating bears, they accumulated a huge amount of resources and waited for this one day. Now that this day has come, they have slammed all their resources onto one genius, so making them an awakened Empyrean isn't something difficult. In fact, perhaps those monsters had long since become awakened Empyreans, but had simply remained hidden. Now that the time is ripe, they are finally coming out. "Why would they come out at this time?" asked Long Chen. "Ah, you still don't know. The phenomenon that occurred indicates that in a few months, the chi flow eruption will occur. The earth will erupt, and the martial heaven continent's chi flow will gush out. That is the time when the various monsters will have to fight for the best chi flow. Coming out now is a show of power so that no one will disturb them when they fight for their own portion of the chi flow," said the old man. So there was such a thing? Long Chen had never heard of it. It seemed that this was an extremely ancient secret that only the senior generation knew of. Through Chang Hao, they learned that the Central Plains' 4 great cities had become exceptionally lively. Not only had those monstrous geniuses appeared, but there had also been battles between them, with each fight being so immense that it caused despair in others who watched. The arrival of those monsters was a blow to countless people's confidence. "Who knows when we'll finally be able to awaken our manifestations as well," sighed Bao Buping. The old man's expression darkened. He was about to speak when Long Chen said, "An awakened manifestation is just some mental comfort. If others have a sword but you have your bare fists, does that mean that you can't beat them? Outer power is just outer power. True power requires you to have absolute confidence in yourself. There was no need for the old man to say anything. Boss Bao clapped Bao booping on the back of his head, cursing, "Did you hear that? Does being powerful have a damn to do with awakening your manifestation? Long Chen isn't even an Empyrean. There's also Yu Zifeng who is the same as Long Chen. He doesn't rely on the heavens for his power. With just his sword, he has also made a name for himself. If others have a sword, will you not dare to fight them? Are you going to wait until you are given a sword before fighting others? By that time, it will be too late." Boss Bao hit him in the back of the head again. Bao Booping was angry at being struck in the head, but he didn't dare to say anything. The main thing was that there was no way for him to retort. Boss Bao was about to hit him again when instead, he was struck in the back of his head. The old man raged, "Twice is enough. If you hit him again, you'll turn him stupid. When I beat you, did I ever hit you in the same place more than twice?" Boss Bao held the back of his head and cursed, "You might only hit the same place twice, but you hit me all over. Isn't that worse than hitting the same spot? Oh, you want to go against me, huh? You think that after entering the Nether Passage realm, I can't put you in your place?" The old man's black cane was already raised. Long Chen hastily pulled the old man back. Boss Bao and the others eventually left. Long Chen wanted the old man to transmit the 8th and 9th forms of Split the Heavens to him. "I can teach you the 8th form. However, I can't teach you the 9th, said the old man. "Why not?" "Because right now, there is no one who can control the 9th form of Split the Heavens. If you use the 9th form, you would definitely die, and the same would be true for me." Long Chen stared in shock at the old man. He had never expected the 9th form to be like this. When he thought back to how the old man had almost used the 9th form of Split the Heavens twice, cold sweat dripped down his back. The 8th form of Split the Heavens was something that the heaven-splitting battle sect's disciples would only come into contact with after cultivating to the Nether Passage realm. It required activating 72 acupuncture points. What was different compared to the 7th form was that it required world energy, as well as life and death energy. Long Chen hadn't entered the Nether Passage realm. However, if his world energy was strong enough, he would still be able to use the 8th form. It was just that it would take even more world energy and spiritual strength. It would be an immense burden to his body and soul. Originally, the old man hadn't wanted to transmit the 8th form to Long Chen yet. Before reaching the Nether Passage realm, just relying on his astral space to unleash this attack could cause his astral space to shatter. Furthermore, constantly extracting the energy of one's astral space would slow down one's cultivation speed. Just fighting and not actually raising one's cultivation base was foolish. However, Long Chen greatly wished to learn it, so the old man finally agreed. However, he sternly warned Long Chen not to use it unless he had no choice. That was to avoid harming his foundation. By then, it would be too late to regret it. The 8th form of Split the Heavens connects 72 acupuncture points. Using astral energy as the link, using spiritual strength as the lead, your heart guides your will guides your power. First, cultivate the path. At the rear mountains of the heaven-splitting battle sect, the old man was guiding Long Chen alone. Long Chen had Evil Moon on his shoulder. His left foot was forward, his right leg behind. His body was leaning forward slightly. The foot, knee, groin, waist, chest, shoulder, elbow, and wrist are 8 points for your power to go through. The power starts from your foot and then soars through the 8 acupuncture points. When the energy goes from your waist to your chest, you need to twist your waist, while also bringing your shoulder and arm forward. With your elbow as the fulcrum, your wrist slashes your saber down, shouted the old man. Long Chen swung Evil Moon, causing a powerful gust to fly out. The old man blew it apart with his palm. Wrong. The instant you attack, your rear leg must press down. Wrong. You twisted your waist too early. You need to drop your shoulder, not stand so stiffly. Otherwise, your power will leak. Wrong. Your elbow must be steady. This is different from the 7th form of Split the Heavens. You need to separate yourself from that habit. It was several hours later before Long Chen managed to complete the correct form based on the old man's requirements. According to the old man, Long Chen had to maintain this perfect form because the power of the 8th form was too berserk and violent. A canal needed buffer room during a turn. Otherwise, the water would flow out and cause the canal to collapse. There couldn't be any carelessness when it came to this. It's about time to try it. Remember, use the minimum amount of energy at the start. Just get used to it first, said the old man. Long Chen nodded. He turned around. Turn back. Face me, shouted the old man. Face you? Treat me as an enemy. That's not good. What if? Don't worry about it. With your current power, you can't harm me. Fine. Be careful. Long Chen circulated his astral spaces, cautiously sending his energy through the first acupuncture point. When he had first tried using the 7th form of Split the Heavens, he had almost destroyed his meridians, so he was cautious this time. His energy surged through his foot and acupuncture points, but then it suddenly shrank down and vanished when it reached his elbow. The old man nodded. Again. The reason he was making Long Chen attack him was to make sure Long Chen used as little power as possible. This time, Long Chen doubled the energy he was using. When his energy reached his wrist, he suddenly felt a burst of energy, and Evil Moon actually shuddered out of his control. A will to tear apart the heavens arose within him. He couldn't hold it back even if he wanted to. Boom. The old man seemed to have been expecting this. He waved his hand, his black cane stopping in front of Long Chen. A gentle energy erased Long Chen's power. Old man, you. Long Chen stared at the old man in disbelief. That energy Long Chen had just felt from the old man's cane was actually life energy. It had been boundless, accepting Long Chen's energy and dissipating it. That was a clear sign of reaching the 2nd step of the Nether Passage realm. Hee, as the one in charge, how could I not have this little bit of power? However, don't tell them. Once they grow up and challenge me, I'll properly teach them some manners. These days, I've been going easy on them. I feel like it should soon be time for them to suddenly attack, laughed the old man. Long Chen was between tears and laughter. The old man was actually intentionally baiting the 7 bosses to turn on him. Was he looking for an above-board reason to beat them? However, for the old man to have reached the 2nd step not long after advancing to the Nether Passage realm was truly admirable. There's no need to be surprised. This is called accumulated experience. I was stuck at the Life Star realm for too long. It was a trial for me, and having passed it, everything has become clear. So sometimes a bad thing isn't a bad thing, and a good thing isn't a good thing. I've already reached the great circle of the 2nd step. Before I get too old, I'm preparing to attack the 3rd step as well, said the old man. Why are you in such a rush? Asked Long Chen. My generation isn't the main character of this era, and our opportunities are limited. We are only benefiting slightly from this great era. This has already been set in stone. By this point, rushing or not means little. I'm happy though that I still have some potential to carve out after advancing to Nether Passage. For the rest of my generation, their foundations have mostly been set in stone. To have been given this chance to shine in my old age, I'll definitely have to go show off in front of Chu Jianying. Otherwise, she'll be the one shining in front of me. Long Chen was speechless. Why was it that the older people got, the more childish they grew? Did they need to fight with the people closest to them? Losing harmed your pride, winning harmed your relationship. What was the point? However, people's characters were difficult to change, especially at the old man's age. Changing him wasn't something even a god could accomplish. That attack was no good. You didn't even use the power of your waist. You have to time it better. That way, even with the same amount of energy, the power that you'll be able to unleash will be even greater. Again, said the old man, continuing to guide Long Chen. Until Long Chen trained the 8th form of Split the Heavens to the point where it became completely natural to him, he couldn't use it against enemies. Otherwise, before he even struck his enemies, he would end up crippling himself. They trained for a day and night as the old man's requirements were stringent. There couldn't be the slightest mistake. Theoretically, I should make you try a full-strength blow to see how your control is, but you still haven't fully recovered. However, after so many tests, I think you'll be fine. Just remember, the first time you use this move against enemies, don't go over 70% power. If you stick within that range, even if something happens, you should be able to control it. But if you go at 100% right at the start and are unable to control it, that will be dangerous. Old man, don't worry about it. Then about the 9th form, probed Long Chen. Don't even think about it. With your temper, you don't know how to hold back in the slightest. Teaching it to you would be harming you, snorted the old man. He understood Long Chen far too well. His guts were even greater than the heavens. If he had the 9th form of split the heavens, who knew what he would do? There are 2 conditions to controlling the 9th form of split the heavens. Satisfying either one of them will allow you to use it. What are they? One is to have the assistance of the heaven-splitting divine tablet. The other is to advance above nether passage. What is above nether passage? You'll know what's above nether passage in the future. With those monstrous geniuses coming out now, they're accompanied by old monsters who have been living for countless years. They are their protectors, so don't go crazy. The existence above nether passage stands at the peak of the martial path. It is the top of the continent's cultivation. Hearing that this was the peak of the martial path, Long Chen's heartbeat quickened. He didn't even hear what else the old man was saying. In the eastern wasteland, someone had brought him away and bestowed him upon Long Tianqiao. That person had said that unless Long Chen stood at the peak of the martial path, he shouldn't investigate his origins. He couldn't help growing emotional. So the peak of the martial path lay above nether passage. He rubbed his 9-line soul calming jade, a sharp light appearing in his eyes. The more he cultivated, the closer he got to the secrets of his origins. Old man, is there still no news from the heaven-splitting divine tablet? Asked Long Chen. In Devil Spirit Mountain, Long Chen, Chang Hao, and Bao Buping had freed the heaven-splitting divine tablet of its bindings. It had said that it would escape on its own, but now it hadn't returned even after all this time. The heaven-splitting divine tablet is a priceless treasure on the same level as the heaven-splitting blade. If it said that it could return, then it will definitely return. For it to still not return simply means that the time hasn't come yet. Don't worry about it, said the old man. Long Chen nodded. Having learned the 8th form of split the heavens, he prepared to leave. However, the old man made him stay for another 3 days, the reason being that his injuries were still severe. He needed to rest a few days before he caused more trouble. After all, wherever Long Chen went, trouble would follow. Every bit that he recovered was a bit safer he would be. After 3 days, Long Chen had recovered to around 80%. His wounds had mostly healed, but there was still some remnant energy within them that he would have to slowly erase. Let me see just how amazing those monsters sealed in the ancient era are. Are they really as strong as the legends say? Long Chen walked out of the heaven-splitting battle sect. Taking a deep breath, a heroic feeling rose in his heart. This time, escaping from the Brahma's secret realm had almost cost Long Chen his life. Evil Moon and the Heaven-Flipping Seal had used up all their energy and were currently absorbing the energy of the divine pillars to recover. However, this great risk had come with correspondingly great rewards. From the start, Long Chen had felt that there was something he needed within the Brahma's secret realm. He wasn't disappointed. The risk had been worth it. He had obtained many 11th-tier medicinal pills, as well as splitting the pool of the inverse Tao water spirit flame with the pill fairy. Most importantly, he had obtained the 6th star's pill formula for the 9-star Hegemon body art. He also finally learned the name of the 6th star, the Underworld Gate Star. As for where the Underworld Gate Star was, he still didn't know. He would only find out once he consumed an Underworld Gate pill. Along with the Underworld Gate pill's formula, Long Chen also gained many more memories. In the Yuyang world, he had obtained a huge amount of unknown medicinal ingredients, and only now did he learn that they were 11th-tier ingredients. Thank goodness he had managed to pull those medicinal ingredients into the primal chaos space in the end. Bringing in that entire mountain range had definitely been the right decision. Long Chen went to the closest city and took a transportation formation to the eastern Xian city. Everyone who saw him was surprised and delighted, greeting him. The photographic jades of Long Chen's battles within the Brahma's secret realm had long since spread throughout the continent. As the most outstanding expert of the human race, he was their pride. The various monstrous existences that had come out recently included the powerful families from the ancient era, sects with complete inheritances, and different races. Now, it was like the martial heaven continent was their home. There were only a handful of people who could contend with those monsters amongst the original disciples of the martial heaven continent. One of those few was Long Chen. The rest could only tuck their tails in. That was why people were much friendlier with him. Long Chen nodded back to them. Suddenly, the space in the distance rumbled. More fun to watch. It seems someone is challenging the experts of the Shimin family. The experts bustling around the city immediately rushed out. Senior apprentice brother Long Chen, why don't you come with us? Someone is challenging the Nangong family's experts. We can watch together, said one brazen maiden who walked by Long Chen. She wore green robes and was followed by a group of other women wearing the same robes. The mark on their sleeves and chests indicated that they were disciples of the same sect. Long Chen wanted to decline, but seeing their worshipful expressions, he immediately felt bad about directly declining. To be able to watch a show accompanied by so many beautiful women is my honor, said Long Chen. Senior apprentice brother Long Chen is the best. Now we don't need to worry about being bullied by the others. The women surrounded Long Chen. What? Do people often bully you? Long Chen looked over them. There wasn't even one Empyrean amongst them. The one speaking to him was their strongest member, but she was just a rank 9 celestial. The rest were rank 8 and below. That's just the way it is. We don't know where these people came from, but they're everywhere now. Every time they open their mouths, they say distasteful things, but if you say anything back, they'll immediately turn hostile and attack, said one of the women. Those hidden sects are trying to show off their power. They intentionally sent a few disciples out to bait others into fighting them. That way, they won't be nameless nobodies when the real fighting starts, said another woman. Long Chen followed them and the crowd. He shook his head. Truly powerful existences would disdain doing such a thing. Exactly. So it's strange that there are so many of those vile people. In the end, it's senior apprentice brother Long Chen who's the real expert, said the first woman. She had just randomly invited Long Chen over, not having expected him to really agree. After all, he was the #1 figure of the martial heaven continent's junior generation. She hadn't expected him to be willing to accompany them. Even now, as they spoke, he didn't act like some arrogant supreme expert. You can't say that, or I might get beaten up by others and you'll be implicated as well, said Long Chen nervously. That appearance of his made those young women laugh. Just who was Long Chen? All his fame was won through fighting. That nervous appearance was especially comedic. Boom. Another powerful explosion shook the space outside the city, and a dazzling burst of divine light erupted. They hastily rushed over, only to see a figure flying back and hacking up blood. You've lost. Another figure appeared, divine light flowing around his body. Mist shrouded his face so that people couldn't see his true appearance, but his voice was icy and arrogant. The person he had just sent flying back was an Empyrean of the righteous path. That righteous expert was pale, his arm drooping. Blood slowly dripped down his sword. The webbing between his thumb and forefinger had split apart, and his arm was deformed. This was the result of receiving a casual, bare-handed strike from his opponent. You haven't awakened your manifestation, so I didn't summon my manifestation either. Do you accept defeat? Asked that man icily. I have no choice. I admit defeat. The injured man nodded. Although he had lost, he didn't feel that much resentment. His defeat was a complete one. Then scram. Go back and cultivate for a few more years. If I was your enemy, you'd already be dead, said his opponent coldly. Every one of his words was arrogant. If it was just the last sentence, it would only sound lofty, but as the victor, he had a right to say it. However, adding on the rest, he was simply being insolent. The injured man didn't say anything. A loss was a loss. The weak didn't have a right to complain, as that would only make them lose more face. Long Chen frowned. The victorious person was very powerful. He was an Empyrean with an awakened manifestation, and his cultivation technique gave off an ancient aura. It had a different feel from the experts of the current era. However, his tone was a bit irritating. Long Chen didn't say anything though. As he turned to leave, the man suddenly said, "Could it be that the huge Eastern Xian region doesn't have anyone powerful? Every day at noon, I accept your challenges. It's already been 3 days, but there hasn't been anyone capable of receiving a single attack from me. Although it might be a bit rude of me, I'm not trying to target anyone. I just want to say, the people of this current era are trash." Long Chen immediately laughed. It had been many years since he had heard such a brilliant thing. Yes, he was treating everyone equally. Everyone was trash. While Long Chen laughed, others were enraged. He was actually insulting everyone present. "You go too far. Receive one of my attacks." An Empyrean summoned his manifestation and slashed his saber. A giant golden saber image shot out. The man wrapped in divine light merely snorted and raised a hand. He slammed his palm down, crushing the saber image instantly and sending the Empyrean flying. His saber actually flew out of his hold due to the power. He fainted. Others immediately went to help him. He woke up and gnashed his teeth in fury. However, as the weaker party, there was nothing to say. "You have a big mouth, but it seems that it's just the braying of a donkey. You don't have any power," sneered the man enveloped in divine light. "You're too arrogant." This time, it was one of the Xian beasts who couldn't bear it. He transformed into a giant azure ape and unleashed a powerful strike with his staff, only to be sent flying with another palm from that person. "An animal only has brute power and no technique. It's fated that you'll never reach my level. Scram back to your monkey hole," said the man. "Bastard." Boom. Bang. Over 10 experts came charging out one by one. There were people from the righteous path, the ancient races, and the Xian beasts, but they were all defeated, unable to receive a single blow. Is he really so powerful? He doesn't even need to summon his manifestation to beat them all in one move. If he summoned his manifestation, just how powerful would he be? The woman beside Long Chen was stunned. This man had said that he was an Empyrean with an awakened manifestation, but that if he summoned his manifestation, he would be bullying people. Even without summoning his manifestation, fighting barehanded against divine items, he was defeating everyone in one move. This level of power was enough to make others feel despair. Don't listen to his lies. As an Empyrean with an awakened manifestation, each of his attacks contains a merger of his world energy and his heavenly Tao energy. Summoning his manifestation would only make it stronger. The power that an awakened Empyrean controls has an absolute suppression effect on ordinary Empyreans, so even without summoning his manifestation, he can still crush these people. "There's a qualitative difference between their energy," said Long Chen. Long Chen had fought 13 Empyreans with awakened manifestations, so he was profoundly aware of just how terrifying their power was when heavenly Tao energy merged with world energy. Even now, his injuries hadn't healed. "So that's the case. How despicable!" cried the woman. "Watch out." Long Chen's expression suddenly changed, and he pulled her to the side. Startled cries rang out from the crowd as a sharp sword pierced toward Long Chen's side. That sword instantly arrived in front of Long Chen, causing others to jump in fright. That sword was a divine item that had been sent flying by the current expert challenging the man enveloped by divine light. It was actually coincidentally flying toward Long Chen. The power of that sword made the people beside him turn pale with terror. Even if Long Chen blocked it, the shockwaves would definitely kill them. However, the sword suddenly came to a stop in the air. The immense power it was unleashing also vanished, like a stone falling into a sea. 2 fingers had caught the tip of the sword, wiping out all the power behind it. Long Chen hadn't wanted to cause a disturbance here. By accompanying these women into the crowd here, he had been very low-key. But this action of his immediately drew everyone's attention. "Long Chen!" Startled cries out. Of everyone present, the only one capable of stopping such a terrifying attack like this was Long Chen. "Sorry, senior apprentice brother Long Chen." The red-faced ancient race disciple walked over. That sword was his. Not only had he lost, but his sword even caused such a ruckus. It was an embarrassment. This disciple had actually gone into the Brahma's secret realm as well. He hadn't joined Pill Valley's side, so he couldn't count as Long Chen's enemy. In fact, Because Long Chen had let people like him into the core region and cut down the divine pillars so that everyone could benefit, he was actually quite grateful to him. Winning and losing is common. I also almost lost my life in Pill Valley, but I'm still living well now. Long Chen smiled slightly and returned the sword to him. That disciple couldn't help feeling grateful. The comfort of a supreme expert like Long Chen was especially touching. It was true that in the end, it was Long Chen who had fled from the battle in the Brahma's secret realm. But no one could say that he had lost. For Long Chen to use his own wretched state to comfort this person made the surrounding experts feel even greater respect for him. They also understood why Long Chen possessed such powerful charisma. Other experts did not treat the weak kindly while still being domineering in the face of other experts. In fact, it was commonly the opposite for other experts. They were show-offs in front of the weak while dogs in front of the strong. This was also one reason why so many people worshipped Long Chen. People looked toward the women that had been with Long Chen. They didn't seem too special. You are Long Chen? The man in divine light looked down at Long Chen from the sky. Long Chen smiled derisively. Why bother asking? If you didn't know who I was, would you have tested me like this? The sword that Long Chen had just blocked hadn't just contained the power of the ancient race disciple. It had also contained this mysterious man's power. He had clearly sent it flying over to Long Chen intentionally. I heard that you claim to be the present age's strongest expert? Were you sleeping in a coffin for so long that your ears rotted, or did your brain turn to mush? Who said that I claimed to be the strongest? Ignoring others, the Wine God Palace's High Priest and the Divine Ice Palace's Taoist Heavenly Feather could crush me with a single finger. If you want to challenge me, find a better reason. To tell the truth, I've long since grown tired of this kind of unchanging show-off method. Long Chen shook his head. The other experts present couldn't help cheering for this development. They had long since found this mysterious man to be irritating. His mouth was especially malicious. Everyone on the continent knew Long Chen's character. His arrogance was not a show for others. He wouldn't say something like he was the strongest person in the world. This was clearly a taunt. Cut the crap. Do you dare to fight? Demanded the mysterious man. Nope. Long Chen shrugged indifferently. You. The mysterious man almost coughed up blood. This response was especially unexpected. I still haven't recovered from my last battle, so I don't want to fight. That's one reason. Another reason is that I don't like meaningless battles, nor do I exchange pointers with people for some empty title. If you want to say that you're the strongest, then you're the strongest. If you want to say that I'm trash, then fine, my skin isn't made of paper. But you should know that even arrogance has its limits. If you go past a certain point, you'll have to pay a price. Long Chen had long since stopped being the youth that had walked out of the Phoenix Cry Empire whose blood would grow hot as soon as someone provoked him. Perhaps that was growth. He had become more reserved, so even seeing so many unbridled people, he didn't feel indignant. If they wanted to be unbridled, then fine. As long as they didn't run into him, he didn't care. You really spout a lot of crap. Do you dare to fight or not? Could it be that your title as the #1 expert is a fake? Sneered the mysterious man. Senior apprentice brother Long Chen, teach him a lesson. Exactly, they're from a completely different era than us. Don't let them look down on us. Senior apprentice brother Long Chen, these people are all too arrogant. Countless shouts rang out from the crowd. This mysterious man had drawn too much fury recently, but no one was able to beat him. It isn't that he doesn't want to fight but that he doesn't dare to. He might be able to claim to be king over your era, but in our era he wouldn't even be fit to carry the shoes of the top geniuses. Once he fights, he'll no longer be able to say he's #1, sneered the mysterious man. Provoking me is useless. Tell me, what power are you from? Asked Long Chen. Someone who doesn't even dare to fight isn't qualified to know my origins. Alright then, goodbye. I'm actually quite busy. Long Chen turned and walked away. He had real business to discuss with Zheng Wenlong. I knew that your fame was fake. You really are trash, sneered the mysterious man. Seeing Long Chen leave, the others couldn't help feeling disappointed. They had hoped for Long Chen to come out and win some face back for their era. You should count yourself lucky that my mood isn't bad today. Long Chen didn't look back. Just at this moment, one of the women that had been beside Long Chen suddenly let out a cry. She was carried over to the mysterious man's side as if she had been grabbed by a large invisible hand. Girl, your looks aren't bad. You can be a bed warmer for me. Long Chen came to a sudden stop and slowly looked back. He had a pitiful expression. Why bother? What? Is it your business if a disciple of an everlasting family wishes to have a bed warmer? If I sent out word, there would be a line of beauties outside my gate wishing to fill this position. This girl is lucky, said the mysterious man. After hearing that he came from an everlasting family, the spectators' hearts shook. Many people's expressions changed. No wonder he was so powerful. The everlasting families were powerful families that had experienced the time of the sovereigns. Their foundations were unimaginable. Those who had been defeated couldn't help deflating slightly, their anger vanishing. To be defeated by such an expert wasn't embarrassing. But this disciple in particular was too arrogant. Long Chen shook his head. Everlasting or not, it means nothing to me. Tell me, do you really want to fight me? He was finally a bit angry. He didn't want to implicate someone like this. What, do you finally dare to fight? Alright, then I won't have time to bring back this bed warmer. Miss, apologies, but you won't have that fortune. The mysterious man waved his hand, sending the girl tumbling toward Long Chen. Long Chen caught her, but she was still pale with terror. She hadn't had the slightest ability to resist in the face of that man's power, being unable to even speak or blink. He was unimaginably powerful. She cried out, Senior Apprentice Brother Long Chen, don't fight him don't worry about it. I'll help you out a bit. Long Chen sent her back to her group and slowly walked toward the man enveloped by divine light. The experts present were all excited to see the upcoming battle. They would finally get to personally witness a battle between monsters. Long Chen walked into the sky. He said, I was originally in a good mood, but now it's ruined. Be prepared. Haha. The mysterious man laughed. I heard that you have the nickname the Eastern Madman. Let me tell you, that little bit of power you have is nothing in front of the everlasting families. To tell the truth, I have no desire to fight you. You're too weak, said Long Chen. He slowly extended his right hand and beckoned for the mysterious man to attack. Even if you are an Empyrean with an awakened manifestation, you aren't qualified to be arrogant in front of me. I'm not even interested in teaching you a lesson, but with how much you're begging me to, I feel like not doing so would be letting you down. Since it seems that you can receive divine items with your bare hands, your fists must be your strongest point. I won't bully you. I will teach you how to be a person using your strong point, said Long Chen. His right hand slowly curled into a fist, taking on a striking posture. That posture immediately elicited a burst of laughter. That posture wasn't for fighting. It was more like one for beating a child. What wild arrogance! Today I'll show you what true power is. The mysterious man's manifestations suddenly activated. Facing Long Chen, he chose to no longer be so exaggerated as to not even use his manifestation. Even more divine light condensed around him, making him look like he was blazing with divine fire. He stamped on the ground and suddenly dived down like a falcon, smashing a foot at Long Chen's head. His power compressed space to the point that ripples continuously spread from him. It also contained an intention to humiliate, indicating that he wished to trample Long Chen beneath his feet. Lightning wings spread on Long Chen's back. He seemed to teleport, avoiding this attack. But most importantly, he calmly rolled up his sleeves without even looking at his opponent. His opponent wasn't startled at having missed, and he punched straight toward Long Chen's face. His movements flowed well, showing that he was clearly someone with plenty of combat experience. Just as his fist was about to strike Long Chen turned, seemingly to coincidentally avoid the punch. It was like that person's attack was well within his predictions. Long Chen didn't immediately counterattack. Instead, he continued rolling up his sleeves. They were finally rolled up to his elbows. Courting death. The way Long Chen had avoided the attacks unintentionally infuriated his opponent, and now his palm sliced toward Long Chen's head. He used the side of it like a blade, and blue light began to shine from it. The first 2 attacks might be enough to crush the regular experts here, but they had just been probing blows. Now in his fury, he was unleashing a killing move. The sharp air that came from his palm showed that this was an extremely terrifying magical art. His palm was like a bolt of lightning hacking at Long Chen, and yet Long Chen continued to not even look at him. He finished rolling up his sleeves and then randomly swung his hand from left to right. This was not exactly an attack. Long Chen hadn't stored up any power at all. His hands simply swung through the air in a beautiful arc that looked so slow that others could savor the beauty of it, yet it was so fast that it struck his opponent's face before he even knew what was happening. A clean and crisp smacking sound rang throughout heaven and earth. Everyone saw Long Chen's hand strike that mysterious man's face first, while that man's attack ended up swinging past Long Chen's face due to being struck. The wind from it blew back Long Chen's hair but didn't harm him in the slightest. The mysterious man was sent flying, smashing into the ground and leaving a long ditch. This strike from Long Chen had been seen clearly by all. It was just a simple slap without any power or trick to it. However, this powerful opponent who had dominated other Empyreans was unable to block it. That mysterious man's power had reached a level that no one was able to comprehend. He had been fighting here for days without anyone being able to receive a single attack from him. Although it was true that Long Chen had an impressive battle accomplishment fending off the attacks of 13 awakened Empyreans, those were people who had just awakened their manifestations back then, while this mysterious man was someone from the everlasting families. His foundation was unimaginable. Many people thought that Long Chen would more likely be the winner, but there would have to be an immense, heaven-shaking battle to determine the winner. This current scene was not within their predictions. You bragged so hard, so let me ask you now, does your face hurt? Long Chen was still in his slapping posture. He looked down on that distant figure that was still tumbling back. The mysterious man slammed his legs into the ground, finally managing to stop his momentum. Long Chen! A furious roar rang out, and the divine light enveloping him grew as intense as the sun. He stamped on the ground, leaving a giant hole, and shot toward Long Chen like a flaming shooting star. Go back! When he had finally reached Long Chen once more raised his hand and slapped him. Long Chen's palm struck him in the exact same spot, sending him flying back. How is that possible? The experts present felt like they were going crazy. They even pushed their spiritual strength to the max as they attempted to figure out what was going on. This time, they had clearly seen that man raise his hand to block Long Chen's slap, but Long Chen's palm had still managed to strike his face. That made no sense. Can senior apprentice brother Long Chen's attacks bypass other people's bodies? Cries of disbelief rang out. That's impossible. No attacks can do that. It should be that he's just too fast, resulting in a spatial illusion. It looked like his opponent blocked it, but he only blocked an afterimage, guessed someone. The mysterious man once more slammed into the ground, coincidentally striking the exact same spot that he had the last. But this time, he went even further, leaving an even deeper dish. The 8th form of Split the Heavens really is amazing. This one move can be said to relate to all other techniques. Hee, the old man is hidebound by convention, but I'm not the same. Long Chen was delighted at this success. What he had found was that the 8th form of Split the Heavens was not something inflexible. If he focused on his elbow, it would have the greatest power, but focusing on his shoulder would give it greater range, while focusing on his wrist would give it more agility. Long Chen had already tested the principles twice now. Although this new method meant that he couldn't quite use that much power, it actually had more than enough effect. His divine face-slapping art had taken another step closer to perfection. This excited Long Chen more than learning any other heaven-shaking divine ability. After all, this was his own self-made technique. This feeling of success was amazing. As Long Chen felt overjoyed inside, the surrounding experts were simply dumbstruck. They had never seen or heard of such a fight. Long Chen, I'll kill you! A heaven-shaking roar rang out. That mysterious man's manifestation shook intensely, and like a whale sucking in water, all the surrounding heavenly Tao energy was absorbed without leaving a drop. the expressions of the surrounding experts changed. They could no longer sense any heavenly Tao energy. Some rank 9 celestials were unable to even summon their manifestations. A cold, killing intent filled the air. The mysterious man's manifestation rumbled, and it was like thousands of devils were screaming. A pair of giant runic wings appeared behind him, and with a flap, he soared toward Long Chen. Seeing this, Long Chen's expression changed ever so slightly. This fellow's cultivation technique was very strange. He was actually able to use his manifestations so effectively. The surrounding experts retreated. Without any heavenly Tao energy, they might be killed by shockwaves. The mysterious man had already gone crazy. He no longer cared if anyone died because of their fight. Just as everyone was retreating, a slightly serious expression appeared on Long Chen's face. His left foot stepped forward while his back foot retreated. He leaned forward slightly, taking on a strange position. Since you want to go all out, I won't hold back. Let me show you my peerless technique, shouted Long Chen. Die! Flames suddenly burst from the mysterious man's wings. Strange marks appeared on his right arm and golden armor covered it. He smashed a fist at Long Chen. This powerful punch contained the power of the heavenly Taos. Spatial energy circulated, making it impossible to dodge. This attack didn't just envelop Long Chen. Even the experts in the distance that were retreating suddenly found that they were within its range. The more powerful Empyreans had it better off. They merely felt space twisting around them, causing their speed to fall. However, the rank 9 Celestials were shocked to find that space had frozen around them. They couldn't move. Are we going to die? Those experts felt despair. They had never thought that the power of awakened Empyreans was so terrifying. It was said that the power of Empyreans with awakened manifestations was enough to topple mountains and invert the seas. It was the power to suppress the world. However, then they had heard that Long Chen had managed to fight 13 such Empyreans, even killing 2 of them, causing the awe that people felt for awakened manifestations to fall. Perhaps they weren't as legendary as the legends said. After all, they had only seen them through photographic jades and were unable to sense their terrifying pressure and heavenly Tao energy. However, this awakened Empyrean in front of them had gone insane from being slapped by Long Chen. He was even igniting his essence blood in his rage. If Long Chen unleashed a full-strength counterattack to receive his crazy attack, then while the Empyreans would be fine, anyone below a rank 9 Celestial would be blown to bits by the explosive shockwaves. In fact, it was very likely that this mysterious man had used some secret technique to activate a paragon art. Otherwise, such terrifying spatial constrictions were inconceivable. Those weaker experts were unable to even speak. They could only hope for Long Chen to save them. Long Chen was still in his strange posture. His divine ring appeared behind him, slowly spinning. 5 stars also appeared in his eyes, but no white scales appeared on his body. His expression was calm. He patiently awaited his opponent's fist to arrive. The exploding blaze meteor fist. Scram! Long Chen also let out a shout. Upon twisting his waist, his right hand transformed into a blur that flew past his opponent's fist and struck him in the face. Another crisp explosive sound rang out, and he was once more sent flying, once more following the same path. However, this time he continued beyond the horizon. Several breaths' time passed, but he still didn't return. The spatial restriction faded, and those experts regained their freedom. Having just survived a brush past death, they were still filled with some lingering fear. That's done. Long Chen patted his hands as if he had done something insignificant. He walked over to those frightened women he had been with and smiled. All right, I've helped you vent. Next time, if anyone makes things hard on you, just tell me and I'll make sure to beat them black and blue. I have some stuff to do, so I'll be leaving first. Long Chen waved and actually walked away, going toward the city. Watching him leave, the woman who had been caught by that man couldn't help feeling a bit disappointed. Her eyes were red and she almost cried. She knew that she and Long Chen were in different worlds. The connection between the two of them would be forever limited to this brief interaction. An unrivaled hero like Long Chen who crushed the rest of his generation was in a completely different realm compared to her. There was no way to bridge that gap. The experts present were all filled with reverence and worship for Long Chen as they watched him leave. That unstoppable disciple of an everlasting family had been unable to receive a blow from Long Chen. Long Chen hadn't even fought him. He had simply slapped him 3 times, and the 3rd time, Long Chen had slapped him so hard that he had vanished. The difference between the two of them was not just a matter of 1 or 2 levels. That terrifying expert still wasn't qualified to challenge Long Chen. That meant that Long Chen really had reached an unimaginable level. They also understood why Long Chen ignored his taunts. He had never viewed him as a real opponent. Can't smile, can't smile. Stay calm, look like a transcendent expert. Hee, but I really can't endure it. Long Chen knew that the crowd was watching him, but he really was too happy right now. The 8th form of Split the Heavens had practically been made for him. Its focus was the control of power. To Long Chen that could not be simpler. However, to others, it was as difficult as ascending the heavens. Others only had 1 astral space where their power was gathered, but Long Chen had 108,000 of them that he could use freely. He could use 100 of them at once, or he could use 1,000 of them. It all just depended on what he wanted. When it came to his control in his regard, he was even greater than the heaven-splitting battle sex old man. Actually, he could have controlled the 8th form of Split the Heavens in just a short moment, but he had concealed it in an attempt to weasel the 9th form out of the old man. It was like he was saying, "Look at how stupid I am, it took me forever to learn the 8th form. Even if you taught me the 9th form, I wouldn't be able to learn it, so it wouldn't be a big deal." However, the old man hadn't fallen for it. He hadn't even given Long Chen a crumb about the 9th form. As soon as Long Chen had learned the 8th form, he had been thinking about how he could use it. He had managed to infer many things from its base technique. As for this disciple of an everlasting family, he was truly powerful enough to even surprise Long Chen. At the very least, he was much stronger than those awakened Empyreans he had fought before. Before this, Long Chen would have been forced to bring out his real power to handle him. But after merging the 8th form of Split the Heavens with his divine face-slapping art, he managed to defeat him effortlessly and even put on such a marvelous show. Long Chen walked into the Huayan auction house, but Zheng Wenlong hadn't arrived yet. He had already alerted Zheng Wenlong yesterday that he was coming, so he was surprised that he wasn't here. As an outstanding businessman, Zheng Wenlong had always been the one waiting for him. It seemed that this was Long Chen's first time waiting for him. The attendant respectfully poured tea for Long Chen. She was also a disciple of the Huayan sect. She was quite pretty, and her cultivation base had reached the Life Star realm. However, based on her aura, she had just broken through and couldn't control her aura perfectly yet. Long Chen sighed inside. Zheng Wenlong's life was really good. He actually had nether passage experts as bodyguards, as well as all kinds of attendants. Then he thought of himself. He was surrounded by enemies, not attendants. Should he switch professions and become a businessman? He shook his head. Making money as a businessman was slow. Plundering was much better. Thinking of the mountains of spirit crystals inside the primal chaos space, he smiled. For Long Chen to suddenly smile made his attendant jump. "Sorry, did I do something wrong?" This attendant was young and nervous. After all, Long Chen was a peak genius who had shaken the continent. Normal people never had a chance to interact with him. If she hadn't advanced to the Life Star realm, she wouldn't be qualified to wait on him. For Long Chen to smile now, she thought that she had done something wrong. "No, I'm just happy about some little business I finished recently," said Long Chen. Hearing that, the attendant calmed down. "Your little business probably isn't small at all. We all heard of it. Here is your tea." The attendant passed over a cup of tea that she had just steeped with both hands. Long Chen thanked her and received it with both hands as well. That kind of etiquette surprised her as it was a very humble action. He was actually treating her as an equal. Sipping it, Long Chen said, "You know of it as well?" I'm sure it's nothing compared to the Huayan sect's business though." Although Long Chen had a vast sum on his body right now, that kind of wealth still made him a beggar in the eyes of the Huayan sect. With their terrifying foundation, he didn't want to be viewed as a country bumpkin. Speaking of which, what is Zheng Wenlong busy with? Asked Long Chen. He's a busy man. The various sects and families that have appeared recently are all business opportunities. He's gone to personally greet them, said the attendant. Long Chen nodded. Businessmen really were businessmen. They couldn't give up on any business opportunities. He was taking the initiative to greet these ancient powers without the slightest hesitation. Long Chen continued to chat with the attendant. Occasionally she would laugh. The time passed very quickly, and after 2 hours, Zheng Wenlong finally arrived, looking worn out from travel. He apologized, sorry to make you wait. On my way back, we encountered an unconscious expert. We saved him and learned that it was actually someone from the everlasting families. Don't you think that's coincidental? What is it? How curious. Who could beat up someone from the everlasting families? Asked Long Chen. I actually don't know. It wasn't convenient for me to ask him such a thing, said Zheng Wenlong. That final slap of Long Chen's had contained the true power of the 8th form of Split the Heavens. He had activated his divine ring, summoned his battle armor, and merged the power of his physical strength and astral energy. The 8th form of Split the Heavens was something that unleashed a will to split heaven and earth, but Long Chen's slap didn't contain any killing intent nor imposing aura, which had made his opponent unable to sense the danger. If it was a true killing blow, an expert would block or run based on their sense of danger. However, Long Chen's divine face-slapping art was just that heaven-defying. No, he wouldn't kill you. He would just slap you. Compared to the pain of the body, the pain of the mind was far more unendurable. Naturally, if Zheng Wenlong didn't specifically ask, it meant that he didn't know Long Chen had slapped that man, so Long Chen had no need to admit to it. Through Zheng Wenlong's explanation, Long Chen deduced that it was the one he had slapped. After realizing that he wasn't a match for Long Chen, he had probably decided to leave, only for his anger to grow greater and greater as he thought about it, resulting in him fainting eventually. That was how Zheng Wenlong had encountered him. As a businessman, Zheng Wenlong introduced him to the wide range of business that the Huayun sect took part in after saving him, creating a foundation for future collaborations. Once that person left, Zheng Wenlong had rushed over. He entered through the western gate, not the eastern gate, so he didn't see the battlefield. Did you say that he was someone from the Dongfang everlasting family? Asked Long Chen. Yes. Brother Long, you really are my lucky star. I actually managed to bump into someone from the Dongfang family on my way to see you. His name was Dongfang Weining. Although he didn't say his exact status, based on his tone, he should have quite a high position in the Dongfang family. I haven't had much luck running around to the ancient sects that have been appearing, but I unexpectedly ran into such good fortune as soon as you came. Zheng Wenlong smiled. Having formed a connection with the Dongfang family would make any future business with them much easier. Trust me, I'm no lucky star. But how is it possible that you haven't had much luck with the others? Others should have no choice but to do business with the Huayun sect. Are things not going well? Asked Long Chen. As expected, Zheng Wenlong sighed. He said that there were various reasons for this. One of which was that those ancient powers were too proud. Although the Huayun sect's fame spoke for them, those powers actually ended up viewing them as beggars since they had taken the initiative to look for them. These ancient powers had profound foundations. They each had their own worlds that satisfied their needs, so they didn't care about any cooperation with the Huayun sect. To put it frankly, they were ancient powers that had sealed themselves off during the glorious time of the ancient era, allowing them to preserve many resources that no longer existed on the martial heaven continent. For Zheng Wenlong to come find them now made them feel like the Huayun sect was trying to trade trash for treasures. Do they have good stuff in their hands? Asked Long Chen, his eyes lighting up. He was always interested in treasures. Of course they do. Ancient plants and beasts that are extinct in our world are perfectly preserved in theirs. Amazing treasures, secret arts, magical arts of the ancient era, they have them all. That's why I went to see them. But the way they looked at me, like I was a beggar, it was quite a blow. Zheng Wenlong sighed, leaning back with a cup of tea. Even after exhausting himself to go see those ancient powers, he was merely met with disdain. It had been many years since such a thing had happened to him. Even as a businessman, he was starting to get angry. To face customers with an amicable smile was the teaching that the wealth god had left behind for them, but Zheng Wenlong almost couldn't hold it in. Long Chen had felt a bit envious of Zheng Wenlong's profession before this, but seeing his weary and exhausted appearance now, that envy faded. "Ah, all I'm doing is complaining. We should get to our own business." Zheng Wenlong clapped his forehead. This setback had made him forget his important business. "Not at all. Having known you for so many years, I wanted to be like you, so I did some small businesses to scrape a living. But I didn't expect these little businesses to do so well. I now have a bunch of things that I can't get rid of. Hearing how tight things are on your side, I'm prepared to give a portion of those things to you." Long Chen laughed and began to take out one item after another. Zheng Wenlong didn't know whether to laugh or cry. How was this business? This was clearly plundering. The matter of Long Chen demanding a protection fee at the channel of the Brahma secret realm was known throughout the continent. Perhaps only Long Chen would do something like that. What was inconceivable about it was that the people that Long Chen had robbed actually didn't feel much resentment toward him. Instead, they felt grateful after being robbed. Long Chen took out one treasure after another. Weapons, pills, armor, there were all sorts of items. Seeing the mountain of battle spoils, Zheng Wenlong shook his head. Long Chen was truly vicious. He had not only gained a mountain of spirit crystals, but he had even gained this mountain of treasures. What's this?" As he took out one item, Long Chen suddenly found it to be curious. It was a silk band with 2 bulges. Runes that he had never seen before were present on it. Zheng Wenlong looked at it and his expression became odd. That's an item used by female cultivators who are nursing babies. Wearing it can induce milk production and make it easier to give the body's pure nutrients to the baby. Long Chen, you actually took away a female cultivator's personal item. What the fuck? Long Chen raged. I let the female cultivators in for free. Which rat bastard conned me like this? At the time, there had been too many people. It wasn't possible for Long Chen to examine what everyone had given him closely. Furthermore, it wasn't as if he was an expert at appraising treasures. If he judged it to be close enough, he let them in. Don't get angry. It truly is a decent treasure. Not many people have such a thing, so it's actually quite valuable, comforted Zheng Wenlong. Fine, then I'll give it as a gift to you. I'm sure you and Bai Ling will be able to use it. Long Chen magnanimously tossed this special object to Zheng Wenlong. Bai Ling was the female manager in charge of the Huayun Pavilion in the Phoenix Cry Empire, and she was one of the Huayun sect's disciples. The reason why Long Chen hadn't seen her in so long was because she was busy handling many things for Zheng Wenlong. The only thing left was for them to get married. Zheng Wenlong had managed to advance step by step to his current position, but he had always remained loyal to Bai Ling. This one point was worthy of Long Chen's admiration. Haha. The great peak heavenly genius of the martial heaven continent is only sending me a single object? Isn't that a bit stingy? Although that was what he said, Zheng Wenlong really took the object. You're really taking it? Why not? We've been preparing to get married for a few years now. I've just been too busy to properly accompany her. Once life settles down, I'll make sure Bai Ling can rest and raise children at home. It must be tiring for her to keep up with me, said Zheng Wenlong. But what about you, Brother Long? When are you preparing to get married? Me? Long Chen was startled. He bitterly smiled. I can't even give them a stable life. Why talk about marriage? If Zheng Wenlong owed Bai Ling, then Long Chen owed his women far too much. They were accompanying him across the narrow line between life and death, but they didn't complain. Once I stand at the peak of the martial path and have suppressed my opponents, when no one dares to mess with me, I should be able to give them a stable life. At that time, I'll make things up to them. Long Chen clenched his fists. If he wanted a stable life, he needed absolute power. Otherwise, people like the fellow he had slapped away today would continuously come to find trouble for them. Long Chen wasn't afraid of trouble, but he didn't want to implicate the people beside him. The reason Long Chen had intentionally humiliated that man was because he was so loathsome. He had actually stretched his hands out toward an innocent woman, so Long Chen didn't bother giving him any face. However, that was just one person. More would come if he didn't possess the level of power to make them give up before they tried. So cultivation had no way back. Even if he announced that he was leaving the cultivation world and going into seclusion, some people would still come to attack him. Hence, he couldn't slacken. He had to get stronger so he could protect his people. Zheng Wenlong called some people over to appraise the things that Long Chen had taken out. Those people made a list, but Long Chen didn't take it. According to Long Chen, he remembered his debts in his heart. If someone helped him, he would remember it. After giving those things to Zheng Wenlong, Long Chen asked him about the current situation of the continent. The Huayun sect was definitely number one in terms of information. According to Zheng Wenlong, thousands of hidden powers had come out recently. They were all amazing existences whose target was the upcoming Qi flow eruption that had waited all these years just for that one moment. Not only that, but the corrupt path, ancient races, Xian beasts, ancient family alliance, and Bloodkill Hall were preparing some big moves. Zheng Wenlong warned Long Chen to be careful. The two of them chatted for almost 2 hours before Long Chen had to leave. After hesitating for a moment, Long Chen went to the Xian Tiandao sect. It seemed that it had been a long time since he had been back. Senior apprentice brother Long Chen. When Long Chen arrived in front of the gates of the Xian Tiandao sect, the disciples guarding the gates shouted excitedly. It had been a long time since Long Chen had returned to the Xian Tiandao sect. After the battle in the Yuyang world, Chu Jianying had expelled Long Chen from the Martial Heaven Alliance, infuriating the disciples of the Xian Tiandao sect. Long Chen belonged to their sect. He was their pride as well as their pillar. After that, Long Chen had announced that he was establishing his own separate entity, the Dragon Blood Legion. Although he said that he was allied with the Martial Heaven Alliance, it was still difficult to accept, especially to the Xian Tiandao sect's disciples. They had thought that he might never return. Long Chen patted those disciples on the shoulder with a smile. No matter where I go, we will still be a family. The Xian Tiandao sect is my home. Long Chen had deep feelings for the Xian Tiandao sect. He didn't want a disaster to befall it while he wasn't here. In the end, although the Dragon Blood Legion was now an external existence, the Xian Tiandao sect still existed in his heart. When Long Chen walked in, the entire sect became chaotic. Even some disciples in seclusion came running out. Long Chen, you finally returned. I thought that you no longer cared about us, said Hua Xiu, her eyes red. Hua Xiu, Zhao Zian, Wang Zhen, Su Mo, Mu Qingxian, all the experts that had once fought alongside him came over, filled with various emotions. Let me tell you, such words have to be kept on the down low. Don't let that jealous girl of mine hear them, or she won't let me have the end of it, joked Long Chen. Hua Xiu reddened, but this joking manner only made them feel that Long Chen was still Long Chen. I'll go pay my respects to the Xian master first. Once I come back, we'll have a real drink. I'll treat you to some fish. Long Chen waved to them. This place was the Xian Tiandao sect, his home. He had to greet the Xian master first, or it would be rude. Xian master, patriarch. Long Chen walked into the Xian Tian tower. At the top level, he bowed toward Li Tianxian and the patriarch. Well, just sit first. Originally, Li Tianxian had wanted to chide Long Chen for his actions recently, but seeing him well, he couldn't be bothered to say anything. Due to guaranteeing that Long Chen would survive, Li Tianxian had been under immense pressure. It was his first time feeling like he might be crushed by that invisible pressure. Each day had been a kind of torment for him. However, when it came to Long Chen, Li Tianxian didn't know what to do either. Long Chen's intelligence was not inferior to his, and yet he always did some dumbfoundingly stupid things. I've implicated you. Please accept this wine as my apology. Long Chen directly took out a jug. He knew that he was still too young. He hadn't expected the old man to actually want to charge into Pill Valley to save him. If Li Tianxian hadn't stopped him, Long Chen would have been filled with shame over that matter. All right, I can't be bothered to say anything about it. The Qi flow eruption is imminent. Various powers are surfacing, and all kinds of monsters are coming out. This world belongs to the young. We can only be spectators, so just do as you please. Li Tianxian sighed, receiving the wine. This offering of Long Chen's was the wine that the high priest had given him. He was actually giving it away instead of drinking it himself, but he didn't feel any pain over it. The patriarch said, "Based on your tone, are you saying that you're old as well now? Then what about a real old-timer like me?" Li Tianxian laughed and passed the wine to him. After a few bowls of the wine had entered their bellies, they had discussed the current situation, and Li Tianxian had finished asking Long Chen about what had happened in Pill Valley. Upon hearing the details, Li Tianxuan's expression became a bit grave. He had an urge to say something, but he chose not to in the end. Eventually, Long Chen left. Watching him leave, the patriarch asked, "What did you want to say?" Li Tianxian said, "I feel like the chi flow eruption coming early is strange. It might be something that Pill Valley did." "Pill Valley? You really think that's possible?" "Actually, I feel like there is some unspeakable secret behind why Pill Valley opened the Brahma secret realm open to everyone. Long Chen might have ruined their plan, but this chi flow eruption might be another plot of theirs." "If you had such a guess, why didn't you tell Long Chen?" Li Tianxian shook his head. "If this really was something that Pill Valley did, then speaking of it is definitely not a good thing. Pill Valley forcibly changed the flow of the heavenly Daos. This is an act against the heavens, and I don't know what trump card Pill Valley has to dare do such a thing. But any karma related to it is definitely serious, and I can't implicate Long Chen with it." The patriarch could only sigh upon hearing that. Just what is Pill Valley up to? Li Tianxian began to pace. "I don't understand this move of you Xiaoyun's. Perhaps it's related to the gods. With something so huge, don't you think you should at least subtly indicate something to Long Chen? This relates to the heavenly Daos and the entire continent's chi flow. If Pill Valley wants to scheme against the heavens, let them. I refuse to believe a person's schemes can go against the heavens. Even if this world has declined, it's still not something that can be schemed against." Li Tianxian shook his head. Furthermore, Li Tianxian cast his gaze toward the plaza where Long Chen was speaking with Hua Shiyu, Wang Zhen, and the others. He smiled coldly. Furthermore, a divergent was an existence not even the heavens could control. No matter how great the scheme, if it encountered Long Chen, countless unexpected things would occur. Whoever schemed against Long Chen would not have a good end. Heavenly Fate Island was a perfect example, but Pill Valley hadn't viewed them as a warning for their actions. Instead, they decided to go on an even grander scale. Li Tianxian really wanted to see just what Yu Xiaoyun was relying on. Long Chen stayed a night with the Xiantian Dao sect's disciples, drinking with them until the sky lit up once more. It was like they had returned to their days of celebrating after defeating the sea demon Tide at the Eastern Sea. However, the next day, Long Chen left. He sat in a transportation formation straight for the Martial Heaven Alliance's headquarters. As expected, as soon as he saw Chu Jianying, she went crazy. Fortunately, Long Chen had come prepared. He had first found Yi Lingshan before seeing Chu Jianying. Yi Lingshan naturally understood and held back her master, allowing Long Chen to avoid his awkward fate. After all, Chu Jianying was his senior, and he couldn't retaliate. Once Chu Jianying's rage faded, Long Chen hastily handed over a jug of wine. He knew that the people that cared about him the most had been very worried during this time. So Long Chen had no intention of fighting back. He was prepared to face the scolding and cursing. In any case, there was no way she would really kill him. "Do you think I'm the same as that old ghost? Is this little piss wine supposed to calm me down?" snorted Chu Jianying. "Isn't this because I'm acknowledging my mistake? It's fine if you want to beat and curse me, but I wouldn't want you to hurt yourself in your fury. Then my mistake would get even worse," chortled Long Chen, knowing that Chu Jianying's rage had passed. However, upon seeing that naughty smile of his, Chu Jianying's rage returned. "You little bastard, you better start behaving yourself now. Various powerful existences have come out because the chi flow eruption is coming. Those hidden sects are all appearing, and any balance that exists currently is hanging by the slightest thread. There hasn't been any huge fighting yet, but you aren't permitted to cause any chaos." The ancient powers appeared after the phenomenon had occurred. As a result, The conflicts between the original powers of the continent had instantly resolved, as they could no longer afford to keep fighting amongst themselves. Now, none of them was thinking about fighting. The current situation on the continent was very strange. Although it looked like all kinds of marvelous geniuses were appearing, there were hidden undercurrents. Whether it was the Martial Heaven Alliance, Pill Valley, the Ancient Races, or the Corrupt Path, they were all just keeping watch. In other words, all the trouble that Long Chen had caused before had been forcibly wiped away for now. This was a rare chance to gain some breathing room. Hence, she needed to make sure that Long Chen didn't cause any new trouble for now. Listen well, the Everlasting Families have a certain relationship with the Martial Heaven Alliance. Hold yourself back. Do not go offend them, understood? Warned Chu Jianying. What if they provoke me first? Asked Long Chen. Even then, you have to endure it for me, raged Chu Jianying. Just at this momentum, an elder walked in, respectfully reporting, Alliance head, experts from the Dongfang family have come to give their greetings. During these days, quite a few ancient powers that had come out recently had sent a few of their people to the Martial Heaven Alliance. It could count as an expression of goodwill. Many of those sects and powers had had relationships with the Martial Heaven Alliance before sealing themselves off. By sending people over, they were both indicating that they hadn't forgotten that past relationship as well as telling the Martial Heaven Alliance to announce to the world that they had returned. Although there were also ancient powers resurfacing amongst the ancient races, the Ancient Family Alliance, the Xian Beasts, and even the Corrupt Path, the majority of the powers coming out were connected to the Martial Heaven Alliance. That was why this return of the ancient powers was not a bad thing to the Martial Heaven Alliance. With them present, the Martial Heaven Alliance would not be forced into a passive position. The Dongfang family? Who are they? Asked Long Chen. They are one of the 4 everlasting families. They existed in the same glorious era as the sovereigns, and their foundations run deep. Come greet them with me. We can't make them wait, said Chu Jianying. Then I just won't go. I'm thinking of going to the cloud-chasing heaven-swallowing sparrow race next. I still have a lot to do. Long Chen wasn't interested in the everlasting families. He understood Chu Jianying's meaning. She wanted him to come so that at the very least, he was a familiar face to the people of the everlasting families. That would make it easier for him to form connections in the future, but Long Chen was never in the habit of doing such a thing. If you helped him, he would help you. But asking him to curry favor was impossible. You have to. Chu Jianying directly ordered him, not giving him any room to negotiate. Come on, you are the Martial Heaven Alliance's #1 genius. If you weren't here, then it wouldn't matter, but since you are here, if you don't go, wouldn't that mean that you were putting on airs? Said Yi Lingshan with a smile. Long Chen was startled, not expecting Yi Lingshan to possess such eloquence. She left him with no room to retreat. Not everyone is as bad as you imagine. Many of those ancient experts have their own elegance. They are also geniuses that crush their generation, and they're not necessarily your enemy. Having more friends is good. Seeing Long Chen hesitate, Yi Lingshan pulled him away. Long Chen helplessly followed. Within the palace, there was a group of young men and women waiting for them. They were all young. The men were handsome and the women were beautiful. They wore white robes, looking like transcendent figures. Their leader was a particularly handsome man. His face was enough to infatuate countless women. He wore a jade belt and a golden crown that made him look grand and majestic without appearing tyrannical. Even Long Chen had to admit that this man was very handsome. It was the kind of appearance that posed the greatest threat to a woman's heart. Seeing Chu Jianying, Long Chen, and Yi Lingshan, this man bowed. Disciple Dongfang Yuyang greets the alliance head. The old family head is old in years, so it wasn't convenient for him to come. He sent this little one to express his sincerest regret. His voice was also warm like jade, and he acted in a refined manner that was neither servile nor overbearing. It was definitely the perfect style for a disciple from a major family. This Dongfang Yuyang possessed a special kind of charisma. He seemed mature, steady, and capable, giving people a feeling like they could trust him. Upon hearing his name, Chu Jianying and Yi Lingshan were startled. There was a record of supreme experts within the Martial Heaven Alliance's historical records. From the records, they knew that he was a supreme expert from 8,000 years ago, the greatest genius of the Dongfang family. When he was born, he had caused a heavenly manifestation to descend and envelop the entire Dongfang family. So he had been viewed importantly by the family ever since he was born. The result of that special care was that Dongfang Yuyang was born with an innate connection to the heavenly Taoists. He didn't face a single obstacle on his cultivation path. It was like he was protected by the heavenly Taoists and was a true son of the heavens. All the heavenly geniuses of his era were eclipsed by his glory. They could only nurse their pride in the dark. Although Dongfang Yuyang had only been a life-star disciple at that time, he was unrivaled within his generation. It was said that even a nether passage expert of the third step had been slain by him. In his era, that was the peak of the continent. That was why at that time, the Dongfang family had decided that they could not allow Dongfang Yuyang to simply roam around the world. They had sealed him and gone into seclusion, awaiting the great era. With the Qi flow eruption coming up, Dongfang Yuyang was woken from his seal. He was clearly aiming to become a sovereign. Such a figure had actually personally come to the Martial Heaven Alliance and spoken as a disciple. "You're too courteous. To personally witness the glory of the peak genius of 8,000 years ago is our blessing," said Chu Jianying when she recovered from her shock. "I was sealed when I was only 36 years old, so the way I speak might have some discrepancies with the current era. I hope you'll forgive me if I'm lacking in etiquette. This is just a small gift from my Dongfang family. I hope that you won't laugh at its contents." Dongfang Yuyang beckoned, and a woman behind him walked forward with a jade case. "The Dongfang family is too courteous." Chu Jianying smiled. Yi Lingshan walked forward and accepted the jade case, expressing her thanks to Dongfang Yuyang. "I heard that the successor of the Martial Heaven Alliance was a nation-toppling beauty. Now I see that it's true. Most amazing of all, your manifestation is in the midst of evolving. You'll be able to awaken it within 10 days. Let me congratulate you ahead of time," said Dongfang Yuyang. Chu Jianying and Yi Lingshan were both badly startled by this. Yi Lingshan just came out of seclusion 3 days ago as Chu Jianying had opened the Martial Heaven Alliance's divine spring for her. The Martial Heaven Alliance only had a little bit of that divine liquid left, enough for just one person. Thanks to that, Yi Lingshan's manifestation had started to progress. There really were signs that she was about to fully awaken her manifestation. However, that matter was something Yi Lingshan had only told Chu Jianying. No one else had known about it. Yi Lingshan was not releasing her aura, but Dongfang Yuyang had still noticed some clues. His gaze was shockingly sharp. His cultivation base had reached an unfathomable level. "Miss Lingshan, please don't blame me for being rude. When I awakened my manifestation, I also went through this process, which is why I sensed it. I wasn't trying to pry. I only said that because I was happy that another awakened Empyrean will soon be appearing within our human race," said Dongfang Yuyang hastily. "No, I'm not angry. I'm simply amazed by your perceptiveness," said Yi Lingshan. She wasn't angry. She looked at her master. Having taken the jade case, she didn't know if she was supposed to put it away or open it. "This is just a small gift from the Dongfang family. You can open it and look. To tell the truth, this was arranged by the family head, so even I don't know what's inside," said Dongfang Yuyang. Hearing that, they naturally had to open the case. Seeing her master nod, Yi Lingshan was about to open it when Long Chen, who hadn't said anything this entire time, suddenly said, "Be careful of being bitten." Chu Jianying's expression immediately darkened. Why did this little brat have to be so similar to the old man? Those disciples of the Dongfang family immediately glared at him coldly. Was Long Chen doubting their sincerity? On the other hand, Dongfang Yuyang didn't show any displeasure. He looked at Long Chen, a faint light shining within his eyes. "You must be the current world's #1 expert, Long Chen. Seeing you today, I must say that you really are a dragon amongst men. Nice to meet you. You're too courteous. I wouldn't dare to be called the world's #1 expert. Compared to the geniuses that once dominated their generation like you, I definitely can't compare. You are all unrivaled, while I'm beaten black and blue." Originally, I was hoping to make a living with my handsomeness, but after seeing you, it seems I'll have to change plans, or I might starve to death. Long Chen shrugged helplessly. Ah, Brother Long is too humble. Such direct words show a clear heart. It was definitely the right thing to come here today. I'm happy to see Sister Lingshan and Brother Long's abilities, said Dongfang Yuyang. The tense atmosphere once more relaxed. Chu Jianying sighed with relief. Dongfang Yuyang was a genius of the ancient era. When it came to his accomplishments or fame, he was greater than Long Chen. She truly hoped that Long Chen could have some allies like this. Long Chen had practically flipped the continent, and the world was filled with his enemies. She really was worried that Long Chen would die one day. Although the Martial Heaven Alliance was powerful and known as the continent's #1 alliance, they weren't completely united, and so when it came to reliability, they could not compare to the immense power of an everlasting family. Seeing that Dongfang Yuyang could talk and laugh with Long Chen, she felt much more at ease. She told Yi Lingshan, "Go ahead and open it. Let's see what's inside." Li Lingshan nodded and was about to open it when Long Chen once more spoke. "Be careful of being bitten." Chu Jianying's expression changed, and she was so angry that she had an urge to slap Long Chen. As for those disciples that had come with Dongfang Yuyang, killing intent started to manifest within them. Yi Lingshan was also infuriated. Why was Long Chen set on insulting the people of the Dongfang family? By saying that this gift could bite, he was saying that they shouldn't randomly accept other people's things for fear that they would be bitten. He indicated that the Dongfang family was not sincere. That was extremely rude. Let alone an everlasting family, even a normal sect wouldn't accept being insulted like this. Stop messing around. Let's see what's inside. Yi Lingshan glared at Long Chen. Afraid of anything more happening, she immediately opened the jade case. A burst of light instantly erupted from within, making everyone jump. Yi Lingshan suddenly felt a sharp pain on her wrist. Something had bitten her, causing her to bleed. All of a sudden, a ray of light shot out from within. Long Chen was about to grab it when Dongfang Yuyang waved his hand, and light condensed into a prison around that object. Once trapped, people realized it was actually a jade white snow marten. It was a foot long, and white light continued to shine out of it. They couldn't sense its aura, so they didn't know what level of beast it was. So there really was danger of being bitten. Chu Jianying and the disciples of the Dongfang family stared at Long Chen in shock. Long Chen had actually known what was inside. That little snow marten suddenly smashed itself into Dongfang Yuyang's prison, causing it to shake. The heavenly Daos began to rumble. Its power did not lose out to an ordinary Empyrean. Return to your original form. Dongfang Yuyang smiled and waved his hand. His prison forcibly compressed the snow marten. A strange cry came from the snow marten, and it suddenly transformed into a medicinal pill. A vague image of a snow marten could be seen jumping within the pill. I didn't expect the family head to actually send a precious 11th tier medicinal pill. Dongfang Yuyang passed the medicinal pill to Yi Lingshan. Yi Lingshan received it. Sensing the thrumming power within it, she was stunned. This medicinal pill actually contained a shocking amount of power. That amount of power was enough to kill an ordinary expert if it was consumed. An 11th tier medicinal pill was just a legend on the continent. Rumor was that all 11th tier medicinal pills were terrifying. This gift is too precious. Please transmit our thanks to your family head, said Chu Jianying. Even for Chu Jianying, this was her first time seeing an 11th tier medicinal pill. Such a pill was extremely precious. The Dongfang family clearly had a high opinion of the Martial Heaven Alliance, elating Chu Jianying. Brother Long, you actually knew what was inside? Amazing. I heard you're also an amazing alchemist? Asked Dongfang Yuyang. This 11th tier medicinal pill had been sealed inside the case and isolated by a formation to make it impossible to sense it. But Long Chen had actually known from the start. Most shocking of all, he had even known that it would bite. I wouldn't dare to accept such praise. It can only be said that I have some skill in that regard. This is a star expansion snow dragon pill. The two main ingredients are the strange caltrop snow marten's crystal core and the rock-piercing earth dragon's marrow. The strange caltrop snow marten is especially ferocious. Anything that approaches its territory will immediately face an attack, even if it's stronger. This pill contains its will, so it's natural that as soon as it's open, it will bite people. There's no suspense at all about that. I even warned you, but you refused to listen, so you can't blame me. Long Chen shrugged helplessly. Yi Lingshan had managed to stop the bleeding, but there was some strange energy on the wound that gave her a fiery, stinging pain. Her heavenly Tao energy was unable to immediately heal it. If you clearly knew, why didn't you help? Demanded Yi Lingshan angrily. I'm also afraid of being bitten, said Long Chen innocently. Yi Lingshan glared at him. He had definitely done this on purpose and was now acting like this was the result of not listening to a good person. He was definitely evil. What's the effect of this star expansion snow dragon pill? Asked Chu Jianying. Even Chu Jianying was curious about 11th tier medicinal pills. Based on the envious expressions of these disciples from the Dongfang family, this pill had to be something precious even within the Dongfang family. The Star Expansion Snow Dragon pill is pretty good. This is a top-tier pill that had gone through the baptism of heavenly lightning and given birth to its own spirit. The formation on the jade case has expelled its impurities and increased its medicinal effect. This pill has at least 10,000 years of history. The Star Expansion Snow Dragon pill has the effect of allowing one's astral space to grow a second time. If used perfectly, it's possible to increase one's astral space by 30%. As for what a 30% increase means, I'm sure I don't need to elaborate further, said Long Chen. When it came to his knowledge about 11th tier medicinal pills, Long Chen had obtained quite a bit of it from the Brahma Divine Palace's inheritance orb. But that only made up for a portion of his knowledge. After he had seen that beautiful woman in the Divine Spring, he gained a mass of new information. Even he wasn't aware of some of the information he had gotten then. It was because of that information that Long Chen could deduce what pill was inside the case even though it was fully sealed, and why he knew that once it was opened, it would definitely bite. This gift is too precious. Please pass on my sincerest gratitude, said Chu Jianying once more. This gift was perfect for Yi Lingshan. To expand one's astral space by 30% was a heaven-defying ability. Alliance Head is too courteous. Although the Dongfang family has been in seclusion for many years, we had a deep relationship with the Martial Heaven Alliance. As the descendants of that generation, we have to uphold their will. I heard that the current Martial Heaven continent has started to grow chaotic due to the various races growing arrogant with the coming of the Great Era. My family had sent me to say that the Martial Heaven Alliance is part of our family as well, and no matter what happens, we will stand beside the Martial Heaven Alliance, said Dongfang Yuyang. Hearing that, Chu Jianying was moved inside. For an everlasting family to stand beside the Martial Heaven Alliance meant that they had gained a very dependable ally. As for the various races that Dongfang Yuyang mentioned, that was referring to the ancient races and the Shen beasts. Clearly, the Dongfang family was not ambiguous about what race they stood by. I came here to pay our respects to the Alliance, but I also have to beg the Alliance head for help, said Dongfang Yuyang. Oh, please, ask away, said Chu Jianying. The Dongfang, Shimin, Nangong, and Beitang families have joined together with some ancient sects and powers to hold a gathering of past and present heroes on the first day of the upcoming month. The goal is to have the various geniuses have a chance to get to know each other. With the great era present, we should familiarize ourselves with each other. Every major power can send their most outstanding genius to attend. Naturally, the Martial Heaven Alliance can send Sister Yi Lingshan as a representative. As for Brother Long, he's not just a supreme expert but also the founder of the Dragon Blood Legion. He has to attend. These are 2 invitation cards. Dongfang Yuyang handed the 2 invitation cards over. What I ask is for the Alliance head to help us announce this matter. Our 4 everlasting families still have some face, so those who know us will definitely come. But if the information does not reach people, many old friends won't be aware of this matter. Don't worry, I will make sure that this information is spread throughout every corner of the continent in less than a day, said Chu Jianying. This was a minor matter for her. Then many thanks. Sister Lingshan, Brother Long, you 2 definitely have to come. If you don't, then it won't be as fun, said Dongfang Yung. Yi Lingshan was startled to find that the invitation card was made of immortal gold. It was both tough and flexible. It was unknown which craftsman was capable of combining such contradictory properties into something so beautiful. At first, the invitation card was blank, but once Dongfang Yuyang handed them over, Yi Lingshan and Long Chen's names appeared on top of them. For this kind of immortal gold, even a divine item wouldn't be able to leave a scratch unless it was wielded by a supreme expert. But Dongfang Yuyang was able to brand their names onto it without blinking, and Yi Lingshan hadn't even noticed how he had done it. She couldn't help feeling a sincere admiration for the geniuses of the ancient era. Yi Lingshan received her invitation card and thanked him. After all, to be able to attend a gathering with the geniuses of the ancient era was a great honor and a good opportunity. However, when Dongfang Yuyang offered his invitation card to Long Chen, the latter shook his head. "Thank you for your kindness, but to tell the truth, I don't really want to go. I have too many enemies, and my temper isn't good. If I can't hold back, I might start fighting with the people there, and that wouldn't be good." Yi Lingshan couldn't help feeling disappointed. If Long Chen didn't go, then that gathering really would be less fun. However, it was true, with Long Chen's temper, if someone insulted him, wouldn't he immediately slap them? Yi Lingshan looked at Dongfang Yuyang. If Long Chen didn't go, then she didn't really want to go either. "Huh, Brother Long, you're worrying too much. This gathering will include experts from every era. Even if the other side is your enemies, they won't immediately become hostile to you. The scale you're thinking on is too small," said Dongfang Yuyang. "Furthermore, you will find that not everyone is your enemy. You'll be able to make a few friends as well. You'll be able to meet the peerless heroes of different eras, and of course there will be some peerless beauties as well. I heard that Brother Long's charisma is quite astonishing. Perhaps you'll be able to return with a few beauties afterward." Long Chen still shook his head. None of that was attractive to him. He didn't want to go to this gathering because he always felt that wherever he went with many people, nothing good would happen to him. "This matter doesn't just involve you. You have to accompany Lingshan," said Chu Jianying directly. "If you don't go, I'll tell that old man that a certain someone raised a coward who doesn't even dare to go to a meeting." "Damn, there's no need to be so evil." Long Chen was speechless. If she really said that to the old man, Long Chen would definitely have a conversation with the old man and his cane. He wouldn't let any disciple of the heaven-splitting battle sect have the title of coward. "Well, it's all up to whether or not you decide to go," snorted Chu Jianying. Long Chen really was infuriating her. Dongfang Yuyang was actually offering to be an intermediary for him to get to know the various heroes of past times. It was a huge opportunity. The Great Era was reaching its final phase, and the Qi flow eruption was coming soon. If he didn't manage to make some allies at this time, it would be too late when the time came. This was no longer the old marital heaven continent. It was not a time where a single person was capable of crushing everyone else. "Fine, I'll go," said Long Chen helplessly. He accepted the invitation card. This was definitely pushing him beyond his ability. He grumbled inside. He knew that he would definitely see people that he didn't want to see at that gathering. Seeing Long Chen reluctantly accept Dongfang Yuyang's invitation, the disciples that had come with him sneered. They clearly thought that Long Chen was acting. After all, this invitation wasn't something that just anyone was qualified to receive. Who knew how many people were begging to get one only to be refused? In comparison to them, Dongfang Yuyang maintained a polite and graceful smile the entire time. It seemed he wasn't displeased with Long Chen's actions in the slightest. "I know that you're all busy, so I won't disturb you any longer. As long as you can announce the time, location, and conditions for the gathering, that will be enough. I'll take my leave now." Dongfang Yuyang once more bowed before leaving. Once they were gone, Chu Jianying couldn't help sighing. He truly is worthy of being a figure who led an entire era. Every one of his movements contains the grace of a supreme expert. This is the power of the everlasting families. Other powers with such ancient inheritances would end up acting like pleased petty little people as soon as they produce a few experts. Some people are never able to develop the same level of nobility. Dongfang Yuyang's arrival had made Chu Jianying bear witness to the foundation and inheritance of the everlasting families. Every movement of Dongfang Yuyang's possessed the mannerisms of a king. "What are you looking at me for? Are you saying I'm not as handsome?" said Long Chen. Chu Jianying shook her head. "In terms of looks, you aren't inferior. In terms of power, there's no way to know since you haven't exchanged blows. But look at his steady bearing. When will you be able to compare to that? When will you stop being so sloppy and start acting like a real expert?" Yi Lingshan laughed to the side upon seeing Chu Jianying chide Long Chen. There really were only a handful of people who could chide Long Chen like this. "I'm not an expert, so why would I need that kind of bearing?" grumbled Long Chen. "Fine, just scram. There's no way for me to talk to you. You're just like that damn old man," cursed Chu Jianying, having Yi Lingshan send Long Chen off. Long Chen rolled his eyes. He had known that he never should have agreed. On the way, Yi Lingshan said, "Long Chen, what do you think about Dongfang Yuyang's power?" "Unfathomable." Long Chen could only say a single word. Dongfang Yuyang most likely trained in some kind of special cultivation technique. His aura was completely sealed. There was no way to see anything about his cultivation base, his bloodline, or his soul. The thing that had shocked Long Chen the most was when Dongfang Yuyang had suppressed that 11th tier medicinal pill. Long Chen had intentionally been slow at that time in order to see what Dongfang Yuyang would do. When Dongfang Yuyang had waved his hand at that time, a divine rune had appeared on his palm. In that instant, the power that he had used was entirely the heavenly Tao energy of the outside world. It was like he could command the laws of heaven and earth. He hadn't exposed the slightest bit of his own power. However, since Long Chen cultivated the 9-star He Gemin body art, although he couldn't see through Dongfang Yuyang, he could sense a mountain-like pressure from him. Within the same realm, the only ones capable of giving him such pressure before were Leng Yueyan and the Pill Fairy. Now another one had appeared. "Long Chen, don't blame Master. She has always treated you like her own child. With the changing of times, perhaps you should change your style. Perhaps you've already gotten used to being the main character of this era, but now the main characters of other eras have appeared. No matter how strong a person is, they can't suppress this era." Other than a sovereign," said Long Chen. "Only a sovereign could suppress all other existences, including gods and devils. They stood at the peak of this world." Yi Lingshan looked at Long Chen as though she wanted to say something. Long Chen laughed. "It's all right, you can say it. You mean to say that the next sovereign cannot be me, so if I want to live, I have to be better behaved, right?" The 5 generations of sovereigns had all worn white. This was common knowledge. Legends said that only experts with completely pure hearts determined to protect all life on the Martial Heaven continent could become sovereigns. Although Yi Lingshan didn't have the vision of the High Priest, she knew that there was no way Long Chen could become a legendary sovereign. One reason was his black clothes. Although it couldn't be said that his heart was black, his Tao was definitely different from the Tao of the sovereigns. The other reason was that Long Chen did not possess that bearing of the sovereigns that had led their entire generation. Yes, Long Chen possessed astonishing charisma, but that was limited to only a portion of this generation. The sovereigns had possessed a quality that had won over everyone within the world. The successive generations of sovereigns had been unrivaled, not just because of their martial power, but because of a certain bearing that could win over their enemies. As for Long Chen, countless people had slandered and framed him. That had never stopped. It wasn't just Yi Lingshan who had noticed this. Chu Jianying had long since come to the same conclusion, so Long Chen had to join others if he wished to survive. "Long Chen, have you ever thought about your own position?" asked Yi Lingshan. People needed goals in life. Otherwise, if they only took things as they came with no target in mind, they would simply drift away. Without any foundation, they could collapse at any moment. My position? That's probably too far to discuss. Let's not talk about such meaningless things. A human is an existence that is very hard to change. Just like the old man and the Alliance head, despite clearly being in love, they are unable to be together. They know their own shortcomings and know that they should be more accommodating and patient, but despite understanding it, they can't actually do it. There's no absolute right or wrong, which is why everyone gives different answers. They have different viewpoints. I have my merits and deficits, and I'm aware of them. But just knowing isn't enough. So getting back to the topic, I am just like this, and I have no position. Cultivation is a path of no return, and to put it simply, I will simply live as I have been. Alright, we've reached the transportation formation, so I'll take my leave. Also, don't end up falling for Dongfang Yuyang, or I'll feel disappointed. With a laugh, Long Chen entered the transportation formation. Before Yi Lingshan could even retort, he had vanished. Yi Lingshan shook her head. Long Chen was not just one thing. Good and bad, arrogant and humble, icy and warm, callous and humorous. He was also intelligent but sometimes did hopelessly stupid things. Long Chen walked out of the transportation formation. When the twisting space returned to normal, he found himself on the peak of a mountain. 9 tall mountains were surrounding this mountain. Divine light could be seen sparkling within fluctuations in the sky. This place was the cloud-chasing heaven-swallowing sparrow race's new territory. Unexpectedly, the grand formation had already been completed. This grand formation was extremely powerful. "Boss, you're back." A pleasantly surprised shout rang out. A squad of Dragonblood warriors flew over to Long Chen. In truth, the construction of this place was still finishing up. Since the cloud-chasing heaven-swallowing sparrow race didn't know anything about formations, it was up to the Dragonblood warriors to keep an eye on things. Naturally, the core construction of the formation had been done by Xiachen, but they also had to hire many craftsmen. In order to prevent anyone from intentionally sabotaging things, there had to be people patrolling while they worked. In the Grand Han's capital, Xiachen had disguised himself as a high-level formation master and ended up conning the Grand Han. He had not only charged them an enormous amount of money, but he had also caused a powerful barrier to appear that had allowed Long Chen to slaughter more of his enemies. Xiachen had conned others, but he definitely wouldn't allow others to con him, so all the details had to be closely guarded. "Boss." When the Dragonblood warriors got close, Long Chen found that they had reached the 4th heaven stage of Life Star. He trusted that Yuyang and the others must have reached a higher level than that. As for himself, his cultivation base was still stuck in the same place. Just thinking about it gave him a headache. It seemed that he was doomed to be the one with the lowest cultivation base within the Dragonblood Legion. "Has anything happened lately?" asked Long Chen. "The construction has gone smoothly. No one has caused any trouble. A few spies appeared at the beginning, but they have been slaughtered." However, after a moment's hesitation, that Dragonblood warrior said, "Recently, a few people have come to challenge the Dragonblood Legion." Long Chen frowned. It was definitely those disciples from the ancient sections. After hearing that the Dragonblood Legion was the continent's #1 legion, they had come. "Have you had any conflicts with them?" asked Long Chen. "No. Captain Yuyang told us to ignore them and focus on our work." "Let the dogs bark," laughed one of them. Long Chen smiled. That truly was the right choice. Handling some meaningless provocations wasn't worth delaying their cultivation. "Dragonblood Legion, come out to fight." Just at this moment, a powerful shout rang out, passing through the formation. This was definitely a powerful cultivator, most likely an Empyrean who had awakened their manifestation. "Look, it's another one. Ignore them. As long as they don't enter our territory, let them shout. If they do enter though, just directly kill them," said Long Chen. After that, the Dragonblood warriors continued their patrol, while Long Chen went straight to a mountain peak. News of Long Chen's return quickly spread through the cloud-chasing heaven-swallowing sparrow race. Even their leader personally came to see him. Long Chen found that the auras of the cloud-chasing heaven-swallowing sparrows had gone through heaven-toppling transformations. The aura of ancient beasts was finally manifesting itself. This was all thanks to Meng Qi. She had opened the myriad spirit diagram to the cloud-chasing heaven-swallowing sparrow race, allowing them to train in their lost divine abilities. If they didn't understand something, they could go in and receive their complete inheritance. Those lost divine abilities were finally once more within their control. It could be said that the cloud-chasing heaven-swallowing sparrow race's power was growing with each passing day. They were originally a very powerful race, and now that they were regaining their inheritance, they only grew more terrifying. Their leader gave Long Chen a brief explanation of what was going on within the race. They were rapidly growing stronger, and due to the chi flow of the continent swelling, hundreds of Empyreans had appeared amongst the junior generation. Although none of them had awakened their manifestations, it made them go wild with joy. After talking to her, Long Chen returned to the Dragonblood Legion's territory. Most of the Dragonblood warriors were in seclusion, working hard on their cultivation. Only a portion of them were busy patrolling. The territory of the cloud-chasing heaven-swallowing sparrow race had been sealed. Chu Jianying and the others had concealed the information that Long Chen had gone to Pill Valley from them, worried that the Dragonblood Legion would do something stupid. That was why the warriors weren't too emotional about Long Chen's return. They didn't know what he had been up to recently. To cultivators, a few months might just be a short period of seclusion. Scoundrel, you're finally back. Speak, how many ladies did you seduce this time? Long Chen had just entered Meng Qi and the others' residence when a tigress-like Tang Wanner pounced on him, grabbing his neck with a frightening expression. How could the ladies in the outside world compare to the ones in my own home? If I were to seduce anyone, it would be the ones in my home already, right? Long Chen chortled, holding Tang Wanner's waist and then slowly moving his hands down. Tang Wanner let out a cry, immediately releasing Long Chen and retreating, cursing, "Oomph, and you say you didn't seduce anyone? Your methods are always scoundrel-like." "Ha, touching, grabbing, it's very delightful. Don't worry, you'll be a bit sensitive at the start, but you'll get used to it soon enough," said Long Chen wickedly. Tang Wanner was as fiery as ever, but this was also her cutest side. How many times have I told you that you'll always be at a disadvantage fighting him?" At this time, Meng Qi and Chu Yao walked in as well. "Come, just now I hugged Wanna, but I can't discriminate against you too. I'll treat you fairly. Let's all have a hug." Long Chen reached out to hug Chu Yao. Chu Yao blushed, but she pulled him into a tight embrace. After hugging Chu Yao, Long Chen turned to Meng Qi, but Meng Qi raised a hand, sternly saying, "Hold it. First, tell me what you've been up to lately. Why did the Alliance head hide your whereabouts?" "Could it be he really did go out to cheat?" demanded Tang Wan. "Ooh?" Meng Qi sighed. "Why are you always thinking about such things? The Alliance head ordered this place to be sealed with the excuse of focusing on the construction, but that was obviously implausible. Just based on her expression at the time, I knew something was wrong. This matter is definitely related to you, right?" Meng Qi was very scrupulous. Although she had sensed something wrong, she hadn't said anything to the others. She only brought it up now that Long Chen had returned. Long Chen could only calmly explain what he had done in Pill Valley. Although he made it sound easy, Meng Qi and the others still turned pale. Long Chen was truly brazen or perhaps suicidal. Before they could say anything, Long Chen raised his hands and regretfully said, "First, I admit my wrongs. I shouldn't have taken this risk and made you worry. So, I will accept any punishment. If you want to take off my pants and touch whatever, it's up to you. I won't resist. I'll do my best to cooperate." Scoundrel! Rogue! Shameless! Meng Qi and the others were originally angry at being kept in the dark, only to blush from how shameless he was. Meng Qi looked at Long Chen with pain in her eyes. Long Chen looked like he had gotten thinner. "You must be tired. Go take a bath. We have our own hot spring inside. There's dense spiritual qi within. Bathing in it is very comfortable." Within the depths of the immortal cave was a small spring a few meters wide. Dense vapor hung in the air. Long Chen sank inside it, while Meng Qi, Chu Yao, and Tang Wanner accompanied him with their clothes still on. With the spring water, their curves were fully exposed. They blushed, but 6 beautiful hands helped to clean Long Chen. In the end, Tang Wanner was the first to no longer be able to endure, and she began to cry. Meng Qi and Chu Yao also had red eyes. They saw many scars on Long Chen's body and injuries that had yet to heal. There was a remnant of heavenly Tao energy within them. Just from these injuries, they could tell how intense that battle must have been. There was even a long scab on the back of Long Chen's neck. Someone had clearly tried to cut his head off from behind. Although Long Chen had put it lightly, seeing those sinister wounds distressed them. After following Long Chen for so many years, they were well aware of his monstrous recovery abilities. They were even stronger than Heavenly Tao recovery. However, even after all this time, he hadn't managed to heal. That showed just how dangerous things must have been at that time. Don't cry. Here. Long Chen drew Tang Wan'er into his embrace. As a result, due to the water and her thick garments, Long Chen ended up touching someplace very soft that he should not have touched. Tang Wan'er shook, and she hastily pushed him away, cursing, "You scoundrel, all you know how to do is bully us. It wouldn't be fair for me to bully just one. It seems I'll have to find some more people to bully tomorrow." Long Chen rubbed his chin thoughtfully. "You dare?" raged Tang Wan'er. Your heartbeat is quickening because of your anger. And your face is so red. You must be ill. Let me properly listen to your heartbeat." Like a big fish, Long Chen swam toward Tang Wan'er, causing her to shout while Meng Qi and Chu Yao laughed. After a bath, Long Chen had a good sleep, and he felt refreshed after he woke up. The weariness of many days had been erased. After getting up and freshening up, Long Chen decided to go see Guoran. According to Meng Qi, there was some matter in Guoran's heart. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.